Thank you. All right, moving along, Commissioner William Morris, if you'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and indicate.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings we've received. Please give us the guidance and strength to do what's best for the people of Harnett County today. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
If you'll remain standing for the Harnett County Heroes Remembrance.
Lynn C. Tew, Captain, Bronze Star Medal with V device. For heroism in connection with military operations against a hostile force, Captain Tew distinguished himself by heroic actions on 5 June 1970 while serving with HHS Battery, 7th Battalion, 11th Field Artillery in the Republic of Vietnam. Captain Tew's extraordinary leadership contributed to the overall success of the mission. The bravery and devotion to duty exhibited by Captain Tew are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, the 25th Infantry Division, and the United States Army. Army Commendation Medal with V device. For heroism in connection with military operations against a hostile force, Captain Tew distinguished himself by heroic actions on 5 June 1970 while serving with Company H, 7th Battalion, 11th Field Artillery in the Republic of Cambodia. On that date, Captain Tew was subjected to intense fire from an enemy force. During the course of action, Captain Tew was seriously wounded. His valorous actions contributed immeasurably to the success of the mission. The bravery and devotion to duty exhibited by Captain Tew are in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, the 25th Infantry Division, and the United States Army. On May 4th, 2026, your name and citation that appear on the Harnett County Wall of Heroes and will remain so forever as part of the history of Harnett County is being duly recognized for your act of heroism while serving in the United States Armed Forces. We, as a county, come together to commend you for your actions and dedication to our great nation. Sign this day, Brent Trout, Harnett County Manager, Duncan E. Jaggers, Chairman, Harnett County Board of Commissioners. Thank you for your service. Do you want to say anything quickly?
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I thank you and I'm humble. I was just doing what I was supposed to do. For the flag and for God and for country. I thank all those others who have served. And I thank you for your service. And to the county commissioners, I thank you for your service and for all the employees of Harnett County. I thank you.
Okay,
All right, I'll entertain a motion on the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda is published, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Before we get to the public comment, I want to recognize we have a few people in attendance with us today. Matt Willis, Register of Deeds. You need to let them know you're here. There you go. Okay. Mr. Joe Pike, that's House District 6. And I think Dwayne Lee, the future county commissioner's here somewhere. I saw him. Where did you hide from? Did you get out on? All right, on the public comment, I just want to say, if you signed up on the public comment sheet and you're here to speak about the data centers, then there will be during the public hearing, you'll have the time to do all that. And it's not restricted to 3 minutes. So does anybody sign up on the public comment sheet? When I get to you, if I call your name out, just raise your hand and I'll strike you off. But you can speak in the public hearing, and you actually get more than 3 minutes than that. So, all right, we'll start with Richard Chapman.
Good morning. Richard Chapman, 5220 Christian Light Road. Item 1 is to congratulate you on passing the April 20th resolution opposing changes to the county's property tax authority. It was absolutely the right thing to do, and I thank you for your decision to oppose this awful measure. Item 2, it's time we compiled an inventory of need. Statistics on poverty, food insecurity, evictions, homelessness, economic-induced crime, and other indicators of hard times are available, but they're far-flung and not always current. That makes it tough to get a quick, accurate picture of our county. A poverty inventory with real-time data about suffering and need helps us stay on the same page when talking about how to do more with less. And doing more with less is coming at us at a furious pace. Unless we regularly let taxpayers know the extent of need and the cause, people will chatter on about waste, fraud, and abuse, and not look for the truth. Item 3, regarding the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision in Louisiana versus Calais, which pertained to map making that uses race as a criterion. Ask yourselves this: would the 20% of Harnett who are black feel more invested or less invested in their government if the county commission contained 5 old white guys instead of 4 old white guys and a black woman of uncertain age? Without District 1, what keeps black people from seeing the county as just another way to pick their pockets? Granted, investing people in their government has never been easy, but it's essential. Because unless you grow that investment, anti-tax voices are going to flay this county to the bone, and that hurts everybody. Item 4, the mess we are in. For that, I defer to the April 24th words of Rob Schofield, opinion writer for NC Newsline. Quote, be it healthcare access, public health and disease prevention, early childhood education, services to people with mental health needs and developmental disabilities, the criminal and civil justice systems, disaster relief, affordable housing, unemployment insurance, workplace safety, consumer protection, scientific research, economic development, and an adequately funded and independent election system, North Carolina is demonstrably worse off than it was 16 years ago, thanks in large measure to the tax policies Senate President Phil Berger and his colleagues have championed. Some of those colleagues, alas, are from Harnett. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Mitchell.
Morning, Commissioners, County Manager. My name's Larry Mitchell. I live at 478 Century Drive in Cameron. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about safety. We're having an increase in population in our county, and there are more subdivisions and neighborhoods popping up in our county. We need to look at safety. And one of the safety methods that the citizens that live here can support is Neighborhood Watch Program. I've been doing this for about 3 years in Lexington Plantation, and we have a number of homes there. If you want to volunteer, that's what I'm here for, is to get our citizens to volunteer in their subdivisions and neighborhoods. And we need to support, because we're going through the budget, and we need to support safety as our priority. A place to begin is harnetsheriff.com. You can drill down under services and go right straight to the Neighborhood Watch Program. When you drill down in that, you can find a lot of information. I found out Deputy Phillips is our POC at the Sheriff's Office for Neighborhood Watch. On that same site, it leads you to purchase material. So when you drive in a neighborhood and you see the sign, what does it mean? You see them all over the place, especially at Lexington Plantation. National Neighborhood Watch Institute is an institute where you can purchase these signs and handbooks to find out about the watch program. It's interesting to read the watch program. It says nationally there's one patrol officer per 4,500 residents. That's nationally. So we need citizens to help increase safety in our neighborhoods. About 2 years ago, I found several vehicles going through our neighborhood at 2 in the morning with their lights off, tinted windows, driving slowly, and they're casing the neighborhood. A lot of people go to sleep at night with their garage doors open, the lights off in their homes, and people out there casing it and doing an inventory of what you have in your garage. Easy entry into your homes. So, as a watch volunteer, I don't make contact with anybody in the neighborhood. This is my course of action. Call the Sheriff's Department. Let them handle and research what's going on. The last time I called them was a model home with the front door open at 2 in the morning. So I called the non-emergency number, and the deputy was there in 5 minutes. That was pretty good. So it's important that we do this safety program and people volunteer and know where to go to find it. HarnetSheriff.com is your beginning place. Thank you.
Marge Morton.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Marge Morton from Fuquay, 3 miles down the road. I'm here to speak on behalf of Harnett County mobile home owners, our seniors, our working families, and our most vulnerable residents who have been blindsided by this year's reappraisal. For 8 years, permanently affixed mobile homes were not being assessed as real property. During the 2026 reappraisal, that oversight was corrected, but rather than phasing this in or notifying residents in advance, these homes were reclassified all at once, resulting in significantly higher tax bills with no warning and no transition plan. Residents deserve answers. Who made this decision? Who's accountable for 8 years of misclassification? And where is the data used to assess these homes? Residents have a right to see it. Here's the timeline this board should consider carefully. On September 30th, 2025, Vincent Valuations presented the draft schedule of values to the commissioners. A public hearing was held November 3rd, and the board voted to adopt the schedule of values on November 17th. Individual assessment notices were not sent until March 2026, meaning the methodology was locked in by law 4 months before any residents knew what was coming. I also want to ask, before the schedule of value was adopted, what level of review was done by the tax department? Were these classifications tested for accuracy before being presented to this board? And if so, what did that review process look like? Senate Bill 889 would delay 2026 reappraisal values by 1 year, but that is not relief for mobile home owners and also those with older homes. It simply pushes the same problem into 2027. And under state law, this board must still adopt its budget ordinance and set the tax rate by July 1st. So the timing problem does not go away. What would help right now is action this board can take today. State law allows the Board of Equalization and Review to remain in session beyond its initial adjournment date. I am requesting that this board extend the appeal deadline by 2 to 3 weeks, schedule additional help sessions before that deadline, and require full transparency on the data used to assess these homes. People cannot appeal what they cannot see. Our seniors and working families deserve transparency, fairness, and the time and information needed to correct their reassessments. Thank you for your time.
This does it here. It does it too. We'll talk about it. All right, Jerry Rivas.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Jerry Rivas. You know, the thing about this reassessment, not only was it a shock, but, you know, whose fault is it that this has happened? I mean, I've heard two versions. I've heard people from the tax department say, well, we assessed them wrong for the last 8 years. Then I've had a person from the tax department, the tax assessor, say, well, it's based on recent sales. People have been paying $35,000 and $40,000 for garbage mobile homes and then rebuilding them and selling them. Now, what does that have to do with me? That's what I don't understand. Why, you know, taxation should be fair and equitable. That's all there is to it. There's no reason in the damn world for my property tax bill to go up 1,480%. And if you people let this crap stand, I promise you, not a single one of you will be reelected. And that goes for our state representatives who aren't doing a damn thing to help us. They yak, make all these promises, tell us about how wonderful they are, and they don't do a damn thing. People are fed up with this. You know, eventually, in 4, 5, 6 years, you're going to have people's delinquent property tax is going to go up for sale. And you're going to be forced to put people out of their homes. And I promise you this. I promise you, whoever shows up will be met with violence. There will be bloodshed. There will be bloodshed. You're not going to take away the property that I busted my ass to pay for. I paid off 2 20-year mortgages in 7 years. For 8 years, I never put so much as a nickel in a soda machine. And I live in a mobile home because I'm on 5 acres of land. I didn't want to live in a cracker box the size of this room on a yard, a postage stamp, where my neighbors can smell my farts and the other neighbor stays in my business all the time. You know, the 2 oldest professions in the world are politics and prostitution. With a prostitute, you know what you're going to get. You've already agreed on a price, and you know all the risks. With a politician, you have no idea what you're going to get. You have no idea what the risks are, and God only knows what it's going to cost. But the only thing they have in common is you're going to have sex with both of them. With the prostitute, it'll be the fun kind. With the damn politician, it'll be the prison kind. You know, this reevaluation cannot stand. You have got man up. Quit being so gutless and stand up to the state. Pender County did it. What's happened to Pender County? The state hasn't sent in the National Guard. What can they do? They can't do a damn thing. And our state representatives are nothing but lying snakes. Don't you people fall in the same boat.
I don't know how to follow that, but I'm gonna try to be real soft. With all my training, I'm gonna try to do the best I can. But seriously, last Thursday about 3 o'clock, one of the county transit buses at 15th Street and East Street dropped off a passenger. After I waited a few minutes, I finally decided to start to go. And guess what? When I decided to go, the person comes out from around the front of the bus. No lights on the bus, no notification, possible another lawsuit. Luckily, I had enough training to know you need to wait to see what they're doing. You need to wait. I waited long enough to see this person walk out in front of me, didn't bother to stop. I called the director of Harnett Transit. He says we hadn't give that person enough training. And I said, do what? We have not given that person enough training. He's only been here 2 or 3 weeks. I'm very sorry, sir. I must apologize. I said, luckily, I was watching what I was doing. Because your people who put out here on this street, whether it be deputies flying down the road or whatever, safety should always be paramount. Should be top of the list. And this time I was looking, how many people have been hurt because of no flashers on these buses? Because one of the new county commissioners says, well, I thought that's just for parking lot drop-offs. Well, evidently, the director says that the training wasn't there, sir. He apologized, but what if I hadn't have been looking? I would have had to go through the police, the deputies, the troopers, everybody coming out there to look at what happened. But the safety and the risk management in this county needs some work. And as a former officer, I know everybody wants to get offended because you're talking about the police and us, and it's not that. It's about people don't want to get in the middle of a safety issue when the people in charge aren't doing their part. Everybody's got to do their part. That's why I'm here today. I'm trying to do my part before something bad again happens. We don't need any more damn lawsuits. We don't need any more. We don't need any more high taxes. We need people for the people. Okay, as an officer, I always try to give a guy a break. If he's having a bad week, first chief used to tell me that, if you got a warrant on the guy, he's working, just tell him to come in and fight and we're going to handle this. Sort of like Andy Griffith. Come on down and we'll handle it. Ain't no use for all this commotion and non-training. You've got to train your people before you put them out here with a gun in these vehicles. I've talked about it before. Don't wait till the next disaster before we start talking in public about it. Don't wait. If it's too late then, that's what we're not getting through to our people. Whether you're a commander in the Army, in the Pat Tillman case or whatever, it's your responsibility to see your people understand the rules. We understand the rules. If not, they'll lock us up and throw us in jail on a big old bond just because you said something to them they didn't like probably. But we got to be in charge when we're in charge. Y'all be safe. Watch out what's in front of you.
Monty Rocket?
I refer to that.
You do. Charles, come on up. You're okay. Eric Stevenson.
Come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. One of my favorite shows growing up. Hello, my name is Eric Stevenson, 100 Valley Stream Road, Spring Lake. I'm here to speak about election funding, okay? Election worker staffing, ballot on demand, and the need to make sure taxpayer dollars are spent in the right places. This past cycle, I had the opportunity during the last election to personally visit voting sites and speak with election workers and observe the process from the ground level. I want to be clear, the election workers I spoke with are doing important work. Many of them very professional, helpful, and doing the best that they can with the resources available. But I also see where there can be some improvements. At some sites, traffic management was a concern. Some voters didn't know where to go, where to park. They didn't know anything. And this may sound like a small issue, but it's not. When voters are confused, when parking is unclear, when lines are not managed well, when workers are stretched too thin, it affects voter confidence. And voter confidence matters. I also saw the value of the ballot on demand. From what I observed from previous discussions, ballot on demand appears to be a good thing for Harnett County. It makes the process more efficient and help reduce waste. I like that kind of technology. So I'm asking that this board make sure that ballot on demand remains in place. But I also want to say that technology does not replace people. All right, so in my opinion, early voting sites should have strong staffing levels, around 10 to 15 workers, depending on size and location. And anything significantly below that creates unnecessary risk, and it can lead to longer lines and confused voters. So let's recruit now, train now, prepare now. And I'm not just here to complain. I'm also going to be a part of the solution. I plan to become a poll worker myself, and I'm willing to recruit others in the community to serve as election workers as well. I believe there are many veterans and college students and young adults that are ready to go to work. The Board of Commissioners can make sure the Board of Elections has the proper funding for recruitment, training, and worker pay, and site support, and traffic flow, and election day preparation. Now, on the heels of the property tax assessment, a lot of people in Harnett County are concerned with funding. So here's my thing. When the Board of Elections chair in Harnett County receives $800 per month, while Cumberland County, a county more than twice the size of Harnett, pays its chair $417, that raises a fair question. How do we justify the difference? What line of accounting is that money coming from? Could some of those funds be better directed toward workers who are actually on the ground level? If the 7-county average is around $382 a month, then I believe Harnett County should take a serious look at reducing the board level compensation. Because if we're going to talk about saving money, let's not talk about underfunding poll workers. Let's not start by cutting corners at voting sites, all right? Let's keep the ballot on demand. Let's fund election workers. Let's recruit more workers, train them properly, staff every site professionally, and make sure taxpayer dollars are being used directly to improve the voting experience. This is not about party. It's not about Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated voters. This is about ensuring that the citizens of Harnett had a smooth, safe, and professional, competent voting experience. Thank you.
Matthew Clark. Okay, that's it. Elizabeth Longman, Latanya.
Tandra.
Latanya.
Tandra.
Tandra.
Good. Elizabeth Longman, I was Latandra today. Ladies and gentlemen, I wear a different hat. We are Black Voters Matter, Environmental Justice, speaking on Harnett County's contemplation of trying to bring a data center into this county. We all know it's a bad idea. Latandra came all the way from Orange County. Other counties just finished fighting this battle and said no. Latandra, go ahead.
So you might wonder why I would drive almost an hour and a half down windy roads this morning. Got up pretty early for me. And it's because data centers are trouble. And what I'm deeply worried about is while other big metropolitan counties are building moratoriums for them, in the smaller counties, these big conglomerate companies are coming hoping to lure you with a shiny apple. It's not that shiny. This creates incredible harm to our water system. If you look at the data is clear. It creates cancer. It creates other bodily injuries. There's noise. It's not a good idea. And we pay for it in the end. So while these companies from even bigger metropolitan companies outside of the state are building billions and billions, the cost is to people. And so I would ask you to deeply consider the consequences of putting a data center in your community. It doesn't just affect you, it's going to affect everybody in North Carolina. Thank you.
We have one Cape Fear River. Let's protect it with all we got.
Alan.
Name's Alan Longman from bond level 234 Hamilton Road. The reason why I want to talk today is I hear a lot of things being said. First of all, about the taxes. We talked about the taxes 2 years ago that if you overexpanded and did not have the time for the economy to recover, that you would not be able to afford the problems that you're going to have down the road as far as overhead and losses in tax revenue later. The other problem you have with taxes is that you have a planning board that approves things with no prior qualifications to what should be presented to the commissioners and leave it solely up to the commissioners, is where you have problems. That's where the corruption begins. And you need to have things done in advance so that when it comes to you, it's already pretty much best for the community overall, not just money. We talked about Levitt's expansions in Florida, went into bankruptcy for years, Texas, bankruptcy for years, because they did the same thing we did. They just overexpanded. The other thing is we're told that the sheriff's department is going to continue doing it as business as usual. We have tremendous liabilities now and tremendous liabilities in the future. That's going to cost you tax money. It costs you probably tens of millions of dollars in the next 4 or 5 years. If it continues, and it's going to, your taxes are even going to be greater in the future. The other thing we're talking about was the Board of Elections. The complaints that were talked about were officially brought to the state. The state illegally made the decisions it will, and it will be challenged, that when you make a law and you don't abide by the law, that you think the legislature can invent a law, change it after the fact that it was broken. And that's what we're talking about. The county has a liability, according to state statute, to make sure that the Board of Elections is fully funded to be able to be the best and the fairest it can be. We're not that. We're playing politics in the state legislature's fault. And we're having problems here. We need to change. We can't turn around and keep the same old, same old. The liabilities are too great, and we need to change our direction. We need a plan for the future of this place, and not just build for corruption and put money into people's pockets and say, well, it's here, let's get it. You need to build for the future, the long-term benefits of this community. Thank you.
Benita Hamilton.
Yes.
Thank you. Susan Davis.
Next.
Thomas Nelson. Data centers. Sherry Okay. Data centers. Loretta Helton.
Hello, Commissioners. Loretta Hilton. I live at 161 Stovall Terrace in Cameron. I just want to let you know that I'm a senior citizen and a brand new homeowner in this area. Just bought my home last year. Then this year I get the tax notices. That was really upsetting because I haven't owned a home for 40 years. And I decided to buy a home in your county. Now I hear about these data centers. That has me extremely upset, especially after the research I've done with all the pollution that we're going to be getting in our groundwaters, in our ground. Also, the detriment to the cancer that these data centers have everywhere, water usage, that people, from what I've read, are actually losing water because it's going dry. The groundwater is just disappearing because these data centers are using so much. We have no guarantees of any type of security for us, our lives, our future, our kids with the data center in our area. All it's going to do is poison our groundwater. It's going to kill our life. It's going to kill our plants. It's going to kill our animals and us. I don't understand why anybody would want to bring poison into your community like this to kill all of us. It is something that is very detrimental to me because I already have medical health issues. I've already been through cancer. I don't want to deal with that again. And I do not want to lose my home because you guys would bring a data center in here and poison all of us. And I also will lose my property values because if you bring a data center in here, if I want to sell my home, what am I going to get out of it? Nothing, because nobody's going to want to buy it to come into our community with a data center here poisoning all of us. Who would want that? Really? Any of you? Anybody here want that? None of us want it. So why would you even consider something like this? As a new homeowner, I tell you what, if you vote for a data center here, I will guarantee you, all of us here will vote your asses out because we will not put up with it. We won't. And I will leave your community and buy a house somewhere else and get out because I will not live here with a data center poisoning me and my family because I have myself and 3 grandchildren to support. And I am not going to live in a community that's going to poison us. Thank you.
Matt, go on. Matt. Where's Matt? Is Matt in here? That you're going to do the data center? Okay.
Yeah, I want to speak on that too, on the data center.
Kamika Dempsey.
Good morning, Commissioners. I want to start by first saying thank you, particularly to Commissioner Neckel for listening to my comment at the March 31st meeting and actually proposing the moratorium on the data center, which was my request at that meeting. But since you all have demonstrated that you are willing to listen, I'm going to circle back to the other 2 items that I shared at the March 31st meeting as well. So number 1 is about rezoning. So there are many things, as we know, to focus on in this county, but development needs to slow down. It needs to be more intentional. Perhaps you commissioners could give a look at the cadence with which you grant permits and zoning approvals. My opinion is that if you move them to monthly or quarterly, because the current cadence is just simply too fast and has lasting implications to existing citizens of Harnett County, which is one of the reasons why everyone is so up in arms about the tax assessments in the county. So I think if we can find a way to slow that down, pace it more intentionally, the permits and the zoning, it just happens too fast and the impacts last a lifetime. Secondly, meeting times. I'm so grateful again that you all have changed 1 meeting per month to 6 p.m. However, there are still a lot of people in the county who would like to show up and to participate. But it is impossible when most of the meetings are weekdays at 9 a.m. Many people cannot be here or need to change their shifts from work or need to take off to be here on an important day like this one where there's a public hearing. People cannot always do that. I also think that 6 p.m. is a challenge for most people who work, especially if you work outside the county. Many people do since the growth of the area has taken off. So a 6:30 or a 7 p.m. start time is preferred. I will also put additionally on the table that we should consider adding a forum for citizens to be able to speak to commissioners about concerns in the county that would be outside of the formal commissioners' meetings time. So perhaps bringing back the town halls. Those are my comments for now. I'll be back about the data center.
Jennifer Higgins. Jennifer Higgins? Data center, okay. Susan Sebo?
No.
Okay. Kathleen Kelly? Okay. Deborah Stevenson? Okay. All the rest of them are okay. Okay. All right, that will close the public comment period at this time. Moving along to item number 6, consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Presentations, Welfare Fraud Awareness Month Proclamation.
Would you want to read it, sir?
Just hand it down. Somebody will grab it.
I'll take it. Do we have anybody coming up?
Is anybody here for this? Okay, come on up.
All right, good morning, y'all. All right, so today we are doing a proclamation for Welfare Fraud Awareness Month, whereas this year marks the first annual observance of Welfare Fraud Awareness Month, which is set aside to raise awareness about the impact of welfare fraud on our county and state, and celebrates the key role that program integrity professionals play in maintaining confidence in our public assistance programs. And whereas the Harnett County DSS Program Integrity Unit is dedicated to the mission of reducing the incidence of fraud in our community, and whereas state, local, and federal governments, as well as local businesses, are frequent targets of fraud, and whereas instances of welfare fraud decrease confidence in the public assistance programs and undermines the good work that these programs do. And whereas fraud against Harnett County public assistance programs is a burden borne by its citizens and businesses in the form of loss of resources to those who are truly in need, cost of investigations, prosecutions, and eventual incarcerations of individuals who commit fraud. And whereas tips received from citizens and social services staff are consistently the greatest resources by which fraud is detected. Whereas increasing community awareness of welfare fraud and educating public assistance staff, as well as the community about fraud prevention, detection, and reporting techniques, is critical for reducing the incidence of welfare fraud against the government. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that the Harnett County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 2026 as Welfare Fraud Awareness Month, and Harnett County adopted this 4th day of May 2026, signed by the Harnett County Board of Commissioners.
The next item is item B, proclamation recognizing May 3rd to the 9th as 2026 as clerks to the Board of the County Commissioners Week. Anybody want to do that? We have anybody here?
Jane's here. Miss Jamie's here. Miss Melissa is off today. She is at a graduation for her grandchild.
We'll make you stand up in front of you. This is a proclamation recognizing May 3rd to the 9th, 2026 as professional clerks for the Board of County Commissioners. Whereas the role of the clerk of the Board of County Commissioners is crucial for maintaining an informed community and facilitating effective local governance through communication among citizens, governing bodies, and departments. And whereas the position of clerk for the oldest in local government continues to be essential as the official record keeper of other counties, with responsibilities that are deeply rooted in history. And whereas North Carolina General Statute 153A 111 requires every Board of County Commissioners to appoint a designated clerk to the board to perform any duties that may be required by law or the Board of Commissioners. And whereas a clerk's most significant duties include preparation, filing, and safeguarding of local government records to ensure the transparency and accountability of local government. And whereas the clerk is sometimes described as a hub of the wheel in local government as they play a central role in the government's communication network. And whereas clerks enhance their professional skills through active participation in the North Carolina Association of County Clerks and the Board of Commissioners, which in partnership with the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill School of Government and the International Institute of Municipal Clerks offers nationally recognized certification programs and continuous professional education. And whereas clerks, through their dedication to development not only improve the efficiency of their office, but also bring positive recognition to the county by participating in advanced education and attaining profession-related certifications. And whereas although clerks work for the Board of County Commissioners, they truly provide public services and assistance of the county. And whereas the county of Harnett continues to grow, the role of clerk becomes more important in order to manage and organize an increasing number of records, receive and respond to citizens and media inquiries, keeping the public informed of meetings, public hearings, and other matters pertaining to the public, and providing information to the members of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and importance of the Harnett County Clerk to the Board and Deputy Clerk to the Board for the dedication and commitment to their service to the County of Harnett and the citizens. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the Harnett County Board of Commissioners that May 1st to the 9th, 2026, will be recognized as professional clerks of the Board of County Commissioners Week, and extends appreciation to the clerk of the board, Melissa D. Cass, and deputy clerk to the board, Jamie Bell Ray, to all county clerks and deputy clerks for the vital services they perform their exemplary dedication to the county they represent. Declaring this 4th day of May, 2026, Harnett County Board of Commissioners, W. Jackson, Chairman, Matt Nickel, Vice Chair, Barbara McCoy, William Morris, W. Brooks Matthews, Commissioners.
The clerks to the board are the actual backbone that keep us straight. So we truly appreciate everything we put you through.
All right, item C, the budget message and recommended, is that, is this something we need to do today, being we don't know what direction we're going to be going?
It's up to you, Chairman. I can read your.
What do y'all think?
The budget will need to be released today, though.
Yeah, go through it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd let him release it, but we hold off our discussion because until this Senate bill clears up, we don't know what's going to happen.
Right, okay. All right, proceed on.
Okay. So our work has been completed on the budget based on the conditions that we have today. The property assessed values increased by approximately $6.3 billion this year. The growth in home construction continues to increase as total valuations continue to increase. We have created a budget estimate. The value of loss we expect to realize at the end of the process is 8% regarding appeals. Current tax levy rate is 0.591 per 100. The known valuation reduced by our expected valuation loss would provide a calculation of revenue neutral of 0.4858 per 100. Revenues in total compared to expenses for continuation budget leave a deficit for this year. In addition, the rapid growth of the county and priorities of the board require us to find additional resources. To meet these needs, I'm recommending the continuation of the current tax levy rate of 0.591. The rate of 0.591 is 10.5 cents more than the revenue neutral rate. Based on current research, the North Carolina League of Municipalities projects local sales tax revenues will finish the year 3.4% above last year's level. We also project an increase of sales tax growth of approximately 3.1%, which will provide approximately 8% in additional sales tax revenues. The general fund total expenditures is $215,151,197, approximately $14,209,000 over the previous year. I have included in Appendix 1 of the budget a list of all the fees that would be changed. We have included a recommended 10% across the board increase for all rescue agencies. You see in the list that all the fire departments other than Dunn-Aversboro will leave their tax rate as it currently stands. Dunn-Aversboro has requested a rate decrease to 9.5 cents. Harnett County Schools recommended budget includes an additional $6 million transfer to our debt service fund to pay for the new Highland High School and CTE High School. Highland High School is currently estimated a construction cost of $140 million, and the new CTE High School is estimated construction cost of $65 million. Harnett County will transfer a total of $17 million into the debt service fund. The amount transferred will need to increase, though, in future year budgets in order to pay for the debt service. The funding provides currently in this budget a increase of $2 million in expansion funding to the school district. It also provides $1.4 million for maintenance projects in the school district, an additional $1 million for capital outlay for improvements needed in their buildings. It also sets aside $4,052,686 in contingency if needed to replace loss of Lowell funding. This, however, is a reduced amount compared to last year's contingency, which is good news. Related to that, we currently have 45 full-time vacancies in the county versus 40 vacancies last year, of which 24 of those positions are in our public safety departments. The recommended budget will provide a 3% cost of living adjustment increase for all employees and a 2% market adjustment based on our compensation study. The recommendation also includes a 1.5% performance pay increase for staff that meet expectations. Proposed budget does not include an increased 401k contribution for any employees. Employee contribution for health insurance will remain unchanged. However, the employer amount, our amount, will increase by 3% in order to afford our health insurance premiums. The state has requested a 1% increase for law enforcement officers related to their retirement contribution and a 0.7% increase for all other county employees. The new budget has 15 new positions recommended for increase based on increased demand for service. 6 of those positions are in Harnett Regional Water. There are 15 reclassifications and 4 special salary adjustments included in the budget. The budget also includes funding for the new bookmobile, including materials and staffing once it arrives, provides additional funding, as mentioned, to both Harnett County Schools and Central Carolina Community College, and transfers funding to the debt service fund for future Highland High School and CTE High School. Each year, our different departments and community partners identify areas for growth that would improve services we provide to Harnett County. This year, those requests total over $13.25 million. However, due to limited available funding in the general fund, we had to make some very difficult decisions. We are only able to recommend $4,545,000 in expansion requests, basically 34.3% of those requests. While we couldn't fund everything, we are prioritized the most essential needs, including $2.27 million for county departments, $276,961 for Central Carolina Community College, and $2 million for Harnett County School District. Proposed budget provides necessary increases to operate our government and covers new expansion items. And I recommend the tax rate continue at 59.591. Maintaining this rate is important for the long-term health of our county. Last year, we significantly increased funding to our schools by $15 million using one-time savings in our fund balance to cover the costs. This year, the revenue from the recent property revaluation allows us to make the school funding permanent and sustainable. Additionally, we have allocated $6 million in debt service to prepare for future payments for the high schools. These two investments, totaling $21 million, account for the 10.5-cent difference in the revenue neutral rate to the proposed rate, the recommended rate. While the proposed budget includes planned use of $8 million in fund balance, we typically have a budget that has that statement, which balances out at the end of the year, so we feel comfortable with the proposed amount of fund balance. I'd like to thank Central Carolina Community College, Fire and EMS departments, Harnett County Schools, and other community partners for their input in creating this budget. I'd also like to thank the department directors for all the work they did in preparing the requests, and especially want to thank Assistant County Manager Lisa McFadden for all the countless hours she has done preparing this budget for consideration. We have a planned joint session with the Board of Education this afternoon to discuss their budget requests, and then we will present in detail, Lisa will, at the May 12th meeting, more detail regarding the budget, and then conduct a public hearing on May 18th. We currently have scheduled June 1st, but we know there can be changes to that date on the actual approval of the budget. I look forward to receiving your comments, questions, and directions over the next month regarding the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I mean, we can discuss it if you wish, but I don't think we have really know what direction we can go just yet. So we might have to wait. Yes, ma'am.
And it's not for me, it's for the public. At this present time, what is our fund balance?
The last information we received, which was the end of March, I believe, we were at 21%.
That's correct. 21%?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything else for right now until we know what direction we have to go by the state? Anybody else have anything?
Good. Thank you.
Is someone here from the tax office?
Sarah is.
Can you get whatever information? We're looking at maybe doing an extension of the appeal process to the 22nd. Can you get any information you need so when we get to new business, we can talk about that? Thank you. All right, item 8. Item A, discuss a request to review and consider the acceptance of the PER and polyfluor, I don't know, the PFAS upgrades in the county water system.
PFAS, yes, sir.
PFAS, whatever you want to call them.
Yes, sir. Good morning. HRW has been planning for potential large-scale treatment of PFAS since 2023. It began with loading studies to determine the types and concentrations of PFAS that are coming into the plant from the river. Second task was to perform a pilot study to determine the best treatment methods based on that loading data. And now we're at the point where we need to get design underway so that we can be compliant with the new PFAS regulations that will come into effect later this decade. This project is in our CIP, and the current engineer's opinion of probable cost is between $95 and $120 million. Funding is projected to be a mix of reserves and state revolving loans funds. And so this ordinance is needed to establish project budget. Is there any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the current percentage of PFAS that's in our water now?
There are 40 different compounds of PFAS that we test for. Out of those 40, we have about 5 that come in above 0. So most of them are non-detect or, zero concentration. Out of those 5, there are some that are above 4, and 4 is the future limit. Right now, it's 75 parts per trillion, which is kind of an advisory limit. The EPA has established a maximum contaminant level, more of a hard limit per se, of 4. And out of those 5, they range sometimes between less than 4 to 12. Did you say 4 parts per trillion with a T? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Need a motion.
You need a motion to approve.
Yes, sir.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Discuss and consider a request to approve an updated social media comment policy. Ms. Patrick?
Good morning. All right. So today I'm here to seek approval for a standalone separate social media comment policy. Currently, we have a social media policy that was approved in 2020, which that was 6 years ago before I started. And that policy that we have on our website and it's linked to all of our social media platforms, it is combined with our employee policy. So it's the public and the employee all in one document. So what I currently want to do is separate them, and I'll have one for the public and one for the employees. So today I'm specifically referring to the one for the public. Social media has evolved, and it's important to clearly separate the expectations for employees and the public. And I believe you guys have a copy of it, but since we have a large group here, I do want to touch on some of the items that are in our social media policy. So
the social media policy says that the county may hide, delete, or report comments or posts without notice that violates the social media comment policy. Some of those comments or posts that may be hidden or removed do not pertain to items within the jurisdiction or control of Harnett County. Include unprotected speech such as violent or threatening language, contain spam or computer viruses, advocate illegal activity, target ethnic, racial, religious, gender, or other types of groups, compromise the safety or security of the public, promote private businesses, services, or products, endorse or support political candidates, campaigns, or political organizations, violate copyrights, trademarks, or other property, and sharing confidential, sensitive, or proprietary information. So that is what our social media comment policy highlights, and I am seeking approval from you all regarding that.
Mr. Appel, have you looked at this?
Yes, he has.
So there's a little change in the include unprotected speech, such as violence. Is that the same, or are you saying it's different, a little different?
According to legal, they are different. The information that is outlined in here was the same as what we currently have, but it's just separating them where this will pertain, this bottom section will pertain more so for the public. Our employee comment policy or social media policy, that more touches on employees who are managing the social media pages for their departments, how they are maintaining their personal, because that's a big thing now in 2026 with the things that people are putting on their personal accounts. So we just wanted to separate them to have one for the employees and one for the public.
Well, I appreciate that, because I'm sitting up here on this bench, and there are times when we have threatening comments from the public. So that's the reason I asked the question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hear none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item C, discuss and consider a request to approve the 2026 County Register of Deeds record retention and disposition schedule.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Commissioners. It's one of these, hopefully it's a softball for all of y'all. The North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, their Division of Archives and Records, has updated their record retention and disposition schedule. It's not been updated since 2012, and I've reviewed it. Basically, it tells us when and what we can dispose of and how. Not many changes, but they've asked that we get your approval on this as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Discuss and consider a request to adopt a resolution to direct the expenditure of opioid settlement funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. So recently, the Opioid Task Force voted to approve an allocation of settlement dollars to the Dunn Police Athletic and Activities League, or Dunn PAL. It would be a 1 year allocation of $44,110. That would run through June 30th of 2027. Those funds would be used for Dunn PAL for expenditures for early intervention services by providing structured, age-appropriate substance use prevention, education, and support using evidence-based curricula such as Operation Prevention and peer leadership training. It will promote early identification of risk factors, strengthen protective behaviors, and equip youth to support their peers. The participants will engage in weekly programming, mentoring, and leadership development opportunities. So we strongly recommend the approval of the use of the settlement dollars for this purpose to Dunn PAL.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I see that I'm not saying by any means that Dunn is not entitled to this funding, because I I serve on the board, and I know that I know the work that they do in the Dunn's area. But my question is that the sheriff, Harnett County PAL did not receive any funding. And I want to know, is there any way that they can reapply for that funding? Because both programs is very important to this county. It assists these young people from getting involved in criminal action, and it helps them to see a future for themselves other than criminal action. And we need this all over the county. So I'm asking you, because I know you and Colin was over this committee, is it any way possible that the sheriff, Harnett County Sheriff, PAL, can reapply for these funding? At least something. It's hard out there, because I visit that area, and I visit the PAL out there. I know the work that they're doing. They have a computer room to teach children how to use computer. It is a valuable asset to Harnett County.
Yes, ma'am. And to answer your question, yes, absolutely. And we've been in contact with Sheriff Powell. Unfortunately, what happened, we went through a transition with our opioid task force coordinator. And unfortunately, what we didn't know, Ms. Morton helped write a proposal for the Sheriff Powell. We really appreciate that. Unfortunately, it got lost in the shuffle during that transition, didn't know it got submitted. When the new coordinator came on, we received that proposal. The only thing we had asked, and of course we can get different directions, the only thing we had asked was we're going through a transition on how we're expending funds. So, and we have an update next week that I'll provide, but essentially as we're moving into a process that will allow us to unlock more options for funding. It's Exhibit B funding, Exhibit B funding options under the state MOA that we have in order to spend these funds. In order to do that, we have to go through a process that has to be adopted, which we plan to bring before you in June or July of this year. The only thing we had asked is if Sheriff Powell would be willing to just hold tight until we can get through this, because that's what our focus is right now. But they are absolutely eligible. We are going to look at that. They are, of course, review any requests that they have. Same thing for the Dunn PAL. They initially requested 2 years, but we are asking for 1, so we can get through this process on our strategic plan. So that's a long way of answering your question of yes, they are eligible.
Well, thank you. My understanding, I've looked into this, is that they were not eligible. And I can't see that being that they're not eligible. They should be eligible.
Correct.
If no funding for this year, maybe next year, keep the door open.
Right. And part of the problem too was under Exhibit A, which we're currently working under, it's so restrictive on what we can do. It's more high level funding programs you can do. I think some things that have come across the opioid task force lately has been more detailed stuff that we cannot fund. And that's why we want to move into this Exhibit B to unlock more doors or open more doors to these individuals. And I think that includes, I know for Dunn Powell, we had to say no to a few things that they asked for because it didn't fit.
Okay.
So going through this whole process, it should allow more funding and more opportunity.
Well, I thank you.
But I do thank you for all your work. I appreciate
she
that.
does a lot. I'm sure I've seen her out there. She's been a trooper.
Yes, ma'am.
Because she knows the need. She knows the need to keep these kids out of prison.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal from Mr. Appel for the allocation of the $44,110 to Dunn Powell.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Review the applications for boards and committees. Y'all had a chance to look at these? And Commissioner Morris, one of them's in your district.
Yeah, I've not met the young lady who's applied. Don't know anything about her. If you want to leave that open for 2 weeks and let her get up with us and find out a little more.
What young lady are you talking about?
Mrs. Hallman.
Alyssa Hallman.
Mr. Chairman, there's an application. She is not in my district, however, she's the older consumer. position on the board for the Home and Community Block Grant Committee, Miss Betty Walker. Make a motion to approve her reappointment. Appointment.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. So we're carrying over the first one. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we get into a lengthy public hearing, might I suggest a 10-minute recess?
You need, okay. We'll be recessed for 10 minutes. All right, we will open the public hearing on the proposed temporary moratorium on data centers, data processing facilities, cryptocurrency mining, and other uses associated with data processing facility. Mr. Trout, do you have something you would like to present to us?
Yes, sir. I would like to present some basic information related to data center. This may be known by all, but I want to make sure we're all working from the same starting point. So definition, a data center, you can all read, but basically it's a data center, secure, specialized physical facility that houses network, computers, storage system, and computing infrastructure necessary for modern digital operations, cloud services, and AI training. And there's some other additional information about what's usually necessary for them to locate. Current conditions in our UDO do not allow data centers to occur by right, nor does it prevent them from occurring. We do not have a request, but if we had received a request today to place a data center in the unincorporated area of the county, we would require the project to go through conditional zoning process that the board approved in order to for their zoning to be approved. Concerns often seen and related to data centers, you heard some of them already today. Data centers use a large amount of electricity, large amount of water. They discharge a difficult to treat wastewater. Data centers are noisy. Data centers do not employ very many people compared to manufacturing facilities, and data centers are unsightly. Usually the most common related benefits to data centers are increased property tax receipts and the creation of some modest paying jobs. A few high paying jobs, depends on the data center in question. So what's changed recently in data center technology? Well, the most recent thing that we're seeing is looped water systems, this new technology through sealed loop systems with no external discharge of water, which reduces water usage and potential water treatment issues. Utility infrastructure, new infrastructure required for data centers is usually being paid for by the developer. Decreased use of economic incentives to attract data centers. It's not in vogue as much anymore to provide those incentives. And increased regulation of where and how data centers are built. So a moratorium, which is what we're considering today, North Carolina law allows local governments to adopt development moratoria, but only under defined conditions. General statute permits temporary moratoria on development approvals, but says that duration must be reasonable and tied to conditions that justify the pause. The conditions necessary to implement the moratorium are described in the ordinance that you have before you. The immediate result is to put on consideration of data center projects. Long-term result of the moratorium is the creation of a new section of the UDO that addresses the impact of such uses and ensures compatibility with the county's land use plan. The next page is some examples of zoning restrictions. Lee County, our neighbor, and the city of Sanford recently adopted new code language. And I won't read every one of those, but if you look at the list of items that are presented there, it addresses many of the things that we talked about as being the concerns for these organizations, these types of projects. Probably one of the one which is, I think it's, yes, on the next page that is very interesting is that data centers cannot utilize groundwater, well water, or surface water as a water source. But instead must connect directly to a produced water source. They also included what's called will serve letter requirements for each of the utilities, which is a very dynamic way to address concerns related to, do we have the capacity to be able to have a data center in our county? And so that has definitely taken it up a notch with regards to that. Also, requirements related to decommissioning and abandoning and proving that hazardous materials have been remediated. So with all that, there's best practices for data center development. Make sure it aligns with the county's goals. Ensure it supports long-term economic and land use objectives. That our infrastructure is ready, confirming availability and timing of power, water, wastewater, and transportation capacity before we grant approvals. Clear development conditions, have enforceable requirements tied to permits, zoning, etc., and then transparent communication related to clear timelines, responsibilities, and decision points of residents and stakeholders. So I provided this simply as a basis as to where we're at with data centers in the current economy and things that others are doing. I also included on your desk a list of jurisdictions and how they currently are handling zoning as it relates to data centers. And you see that a number of them don't have it explicitly listed, whether it's required, permitted, or if they have to have a special use permit. But there are some that are starting to get into the game and creating their requirements related to their properties. I also included those items that I mentioned as examples of ways to restrict data centers, the actual language of the ordinance that Lee County and Sanford approved for your information for the future. That's all I have at this point, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Before we open up to the public hearing, I just want you to understand that the purpose of this hearing is we're required by law to have a hearing, a public hearing, if we are going to put a moratorium on something. The purpose of the moratorium is that we have nothing in our UDO to address them. Data centers, the whole purpose of the moratorium is to delay anything from happening until we get a UDO in place that protects the county by controlling how they have to be built, if they're built, where they're built at, things like that. So the moratorium today is, the meeting today is about the moratorium and us putting one in place, possibly if the board so chooses to do that, and give the planning and zoning a chance to come get the UDO brought up to speed to be able to handle any future proposals for data centers. Before we start, does anyone have a comment before we open up? All right. Probably a very short list, but I'm going to give the opportunity to the individuals who wish to speak in favor of the data center to come up first.
You can't be serious.
Got to give them a chance. All right, nobody wants to speak in favor, so now, hey, look.
So nobody has anything positive to say about these?
If they dare say.
So.
About what? About the ordinance?
No,
About data centers, period.
About is there anybody in favor of a data center coming to Harnett County and destroying our beautiful land?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
If they can stop animal gobble.
Okay, so the purpose of the hearing is so anyone who was wanting us not to put a moratorium in place was to give them a chance to speak. But we will give you a chance to speak also if you don't want them. It's just understand our goal would be to have one in place so we can get a UDO going. Okay, so who wants to speak first? Come on up, Mr. Chapman.
I'm a little confused as to what we're talking about, but in general, I'm in support of the ordinance that is before you. But I did have questions that came up in the course of reading the ordinance that I think ought to be, well, I have some kind of direction on. For one thing, developmental services is tasked with evaluating data centers and preparing the UDO. I have eminent respect for what they do, but I don't know that they know anything about data centers. I don't know that they won't need to hire outside consultants or have a supplemental budget that would allow them to gather the information necessary in order to produce this UDO. So I'd like to know whether or not there's any impact on their spending from this ordinance. Secondly, it might be entirely possible that there's a legal challenge that's filed. And I'd like to know whether or not we're prepared to go to court to defend this ordinance in the event that some developer who is already in process or wants to challenge the ordinance steps forward and does that. as well as any costs for legal advice that we may incur in consulting with other governmental entities who have taken this step, either being that in North Carolina or, as I'm a little bit more familiar with, the steps they're taking in the state of Virginia to oppose data centers in that state, which is involved lengthy and detailed court battles. I would also like to, County Manager Trout mentioned communicating with the public on this process as it evolves. I'd like to pin that down a little bit. Can we get a quarterly report or a 6-month report, or something on where we stand and what we've learned and how it would apply to our county in particular? The ordinance also provides for a possible extension, but it doesn't say how long that extension would be or how it would be achieved, what criteria would have to be in place in order to justify the extension. I'd sort of like to know that. Commissioner or County Manager Trout also referred to tax revenue as being one of the benefits of a data center, but if we ended up with one of these, could we tax the hell out of it? I don't know. So kind of a revenue perspective on how a data center fits into the industrial complexion of our county, I think would be information to have. Who would pay for security? Is the private developer responsible for that, or would the sheriff's department have to send deputies out there looking at buildings? And then the issue of decommissioning that was briefly mentioned, I think is really important. Right now we need these data centers to run AI, but if quantum computing suddenly becomes extensive and cheap, then all of a sudden we've got these huge fields of computers that we don't need. And how exactly do we decommission? And who's responsible for paying for all of that stuff? Now, presumably, that's all going to be generated by the UDO research, but it's something that I think the public has turned out today because it's concerned about these questions and other questions, and I think they're relevant to informing all of us as we go through this moratorium process. A moratorium is a delicate matter, and that's why the legislature has put so many rules in place about moratoriums. Well, that involves the public, and I think we need to be kept up to speed regularly. So I know you want to too, but I would ask that some of these issues be addressed, if not today, at some point down the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Marge Morton. Good morning. For those who don't know me, I've been standing at this podium for 5 years, bringing research, data, and the concerns of our residents to this board. I have always tried to come to you with facts, not fear, and I appreciate that over the years, this board has listened, engaged, and acted in the best interests of our community. Today is no different. I want to start by reminding this board of why I first became involved in Harnett County advocacy. 5 years ago, I was part of the coalition that fought the Highland Paving asphalt plant, proposed along 401 North, a project pushed forward on industry already zoned land near Neels Creek with little transparency, and we later learned, with the active involvement of a former County Commissioner who misled his constituents about what he knew and when he knew it. That fight taught me a hard lesson. When industrial interests come to Harnett County, residents are often the last to know and the last to be protected. I'm here today to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm in full support of this moratorium, and I want to explain why it matters, not just as a pause button, but a statement of values. Senator Jim Bergen was recently quoted in the Daily Record confirming that there is currently a data center interested in locating in Harnett County and estimating that the county could receive $1.5 million in annual ad valorem tax revenue. I respect Senator Bergen's engagement on this issue, and I appreciate the transparency of that statement. But I would ask this board to look carefully at those numbers. After depreciation and incentives, independent analysis shows that long-term annual tax revenue from a mid-sized center is realistically well under $1 million a year. In exchange for that, we would be accepting extreme power demand, potentially requiring new substations and grid upgrades, and water consumption of anywhere from 1 to 5 million gallons per day for larger facilities. That is the equivalent of the daily water needs of thousands of households in a county that already faces enormous growth pressures. Consider this, there are approximately 35 permitted lots coming online across the region, with Harnett County government accounting for 5,000 of those, and Lillington carrying a staggering 22,000 permitted lots. Our water infrastructure is already being stretched to serve families who are coming, including neighboring Fuquay. Adding the water demands of a data center on top of what is not risk that we can afford. And that brings me to Neels Creek and the Cape Fear River. I know this board shares my deep concern for protecting our watershed. Neels Creek is not just a line on a map, it's an environmentally sensitive waterway that feeds directly into the Cape Fear River, the drinking water source for hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians downstream. We fought to protect it from an asphalt plant. We must fight just as hard to protect it from the water demands and infrastructure strain of a data center. I'm also raising a specific concern that I believe requires full transparency from this board. There are approximately 122 acres across 4 properties in this county currently zoned industrial. One of those properties is owned by the Bergen family. These properties sit in proximity to Neels Creek, and I want this board to understand exactly where I'm talking about. These are the same properties adjacent to Highland Paving asphalt plant along 401 North. That is not a coincidence that should be dismissed lightly. From the very beginning of that fight, our group has been deeply concerned about what else could be built in that industrial zoned corridor. The concern has never gone away, and today it is more urgent than ever. Now, I want to be clear. I am not stating as fact that this land is a target site for a data center. That conclusion is based on assumption and circumstance. What I am saying is that the coincidence concerning enough to warrant full public disclosure, especially in light of what Senator Bergen did and did not share to the Daily Record. He confirmed that investors are already under contract on a property along or in close proximity to the Cape Fear River, yet he declined to disclose who those investors are or exactly where that property is located, saying only that it's somewhere in the county. That lack of transparency is unacceptable when we're talking about a project that could have permanent consequences for our watershed and our community. It is also worth noting that this industrial zoned land was rezoned 37 years ago, long before our current community, our hospitals, our schools, and our neighborhoods existed in this present form. What made sense on paper in 1988 deserves serious reexamination today. I'm asking this board to consider whether industrial zoning from nearly 4 decades ago should continue to govern what gets built next to one of our most sensitive waterways. And I'm demanding public transparency about any and all properties being considered or discussed as potential data center sites before any application is submitted. We learned that lesson the hard way with Highland Paving. We cannot afford to learn it again. I want to speak something broader. I understand that the appeal of new tax revenue. I understand the pressure this county faces as it grows. But we have an obligation to our residents, to our environment, and to the future generations to ensure that potential tax revenue never, ever takes precedence over the well-being of our community and the health of our river. And I want to be clear, allowing one mid-sized data center today does not close the door on others. It cracks it open. Once the precedent is set, once the infrastructure is in and the zoning exceptions are made, it becomes exponentially harder to say no the next time. So I'm simply asking this board to support a 1-year moratorium. I'm asking the board to use that year to reach a firm and lasting conclusion, and then have the courage to say no. No to this data center. No to the next one. No to any that follow. Because no amount of tax revenue, not $1 million, not 0.15 million, not any figure anyone puts in front of you is worth compromising the health of our community, the safety of our water supply, or the future of the Cape Fear River. Some things are not for sale. Harnett County's watershed is one of them. Use this moratorium wisely. Update the UDO. Set clear standards. Draw a firm line around our watershed and send a message that Harnett County is open for responsible growth, but not at any price. Thank you.
Good morning, Jerry Rivas once again. You know, I'm aware of what Senator Bergen told a reporter in a paper, but what I'm concerned about is what Senator Bergen didn't say. Well, there's a 43-acre tract right next to Highland Paving that I believe his wife owns. Is that where this company is interested in putting their data center? Where is Jim Bergen? What happened to Joe Pike? Where's Howard Penny? How come they never have the guts to show up to these meetings and stay in these meetings? And I'd like to know why they never answer a question with a direct answer. Or, for that matter, the 5 of you. Why don't you? 2 weeks ago, I sent email to all 5 of you. Not a single response. I resent the email. Only got a response when I called somebody up. You claim to represent the people, but you do not listen to the people. Mr. Trout, what's wrong with being revenue neutral? Are you so addicted to our money that you can't lower the levy to make up for this additional $8 billion in property tax value? $8 billion? You know, and the thing is, I have no doubt that there will be a data center in Harnett County because somebody's palm will get greased, somebody's pocket will get stuffed with money. Oh, you need a new pool at your mansion? Hey, we'll hook you up. You know, the corruption in politics goes all the way from the bottom to the top. There's not a single one of you that have clean hands in this deal. You know, you came here from Kansas. I left Kansas 40 years ago because the property taxes were so punitive. You must have brought those attitudes with you. Hey, let's jump everybody's values up. Hell, maybe I'll just, if my property is worth so much money, maybe I'll see if they can put a mini data center on my 4.3 acres and just pollute the hell out of everything. But as long as I get paid, that's okay. That's okay. Who benefits from a data center? The biggest thing they do is do something called mining cryptocurrency. Some crap called Bitcoin, where, I've never seen a Bitcoin, but I don't know, at one time they were worth like $58,000 each. That data mining center only benefits the person who owns it, or the corporation, or the nameless, faceless Chinese entity. It won't benefit her. It won't benefit him. It won't benefit none of you people. But politicians will get paid one way or another. One way or another. We're celebrating the 250th year of this country, and this country was founded on a revolution against taxation without representation. And I wish somebody would say, hey, we're going to have another revolution. We're going to start by cleaning out all these professional politicians. I would join in with them. It's just sickening. It's just sickening. You claim to be representatives of the people, and you never listen, you never respond, and you do whatever the hell you want to, and you're going to continue to do that.
Name is Alan Longman. I'm talking about this ridiculous thing with the computers. One, people have already experimented with this with immense failure. Two, the industry has no fundamentals to keep itself going. Why do you think we want Greenland? Why do you think we want Canada? Why do you think we want back in Afghanistan? Why do we not want the unification of Africa? Because the rare earth materials need to keep the AI components functioning and produced do not exist in the United States and are being held away from us, so we cannot go much far with this type of industry. We are dependent on other nations for the resources, meaning in 3 or 4 years, if they go under, you're stuck with the mess, the chemicals, the high taxes you want to get. I'm from Shoreham, Long Island. We had a nuclear power plant. They closed it down. Our taxes went up 10 times what they were, and they were obscene from the very beginning. Everybody moved out. It was a ghost town. We could not survive there. That's what's going to probably happen to us. When you're in business and you think about business decisions, my gains and my risk, it's called risk management. The gains are nowhere near worth what the risk is. So why are you pursuing it? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. This has been tried. This has been done by many institutions and other states with having problems with it. I can see the problems, you can see the problems, and the other problem is honesty. If you're talking about particles in the trillions, you're talking about DI water. You're not talking about regular water, which is in parts per million. I don't buy his statistics on what he's doing, what his money is. We would have to go out and find a third-person institution. There's one in Connecticut that's done in law that is an expert in this legal matters, whether or not the water is going to be good or not. If it was challenged, you would be in court. We were with Blue Ridge, who did the thing with the coal ash. So I know what I'm talking about is about being challenged and winning. I do not believe the statistics in this. I think it needs to be a third-person administrator. And why are we putting out the cost? We can't even afford $100,000 to make the voting fair for this county. And we're going to be spending money on research, our time, our expertise. We don't have the money for that. We don't have a future for that. This is going to solve our what? Our problems with our taxes. Our tax problems came from other sources, and usually because of bad decisions. This will be another bad decision, and I don't think we should be doing it. We need to take responsibility and stop putting our county in danger because we don't care enough to get the statistics right on what's doing beneficial. The other problem is cadmium. We have too much cadmium here. Children cannot live with that cadmium. They lose their IQ points and they learn problems with development. This system has a lot of problems with cadmium. We're already at a super high level, 5 times the accepted level for adults. What's it going to be when you build these plants? Are you going to be able to sell water to people to be used in their homes and on their bodies and in their food? I see a disaster brewing. I can assure them they can sit there and say, I don't want to go with the agreement I made with you. I want my money back. That's it. They did that. They got their money back. At the cost of the taxpayer, lost everything. And that's what will happen here. There's no laws. It's about the enforcement of laws that you have. We can't even see the laws enforced for Board of Elections not being enforced. How do you think you're going to enforce the laws that you make? They're not enforceable. We see that with the state. A lot of laws are not enforceable. And you're going to be left holding the bag. We've seen this in communities, developers, and we see this with industry. And I personally have seen this in industry and experienced losing everything. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Benita Harrington, and I am the president of the Harnett County NAACP, and I'm here to speak on that behalf. The NAACP's mission includes a longstanding commitment to environmental and climate justice, recognizing that environmental decisions are inseparable from civil rights, public health, and economic equity. Historically, communities of color, rural residents, and low-income families have too often borne the disproportionate environmental burdens while receiving limited benefits from a large-scale development. So we are in favor and we support the moratorium. And as you consider the growth of this large-scale data centers coming to Harnett County, we respectfully ask that these decisions be approached through an environmental justice lens. As everyone here has said, data centers create a huge impact on our water usage, increases in energy demand, and just large-scale strains on our infrastructure. So we believe that it is essential for the residents of Harnett County, particularly those that are historically marginalized, have meaningful opportunities of engagement. Our goal is not to oppose progress, but to ensure that progress does not come at the expense of the people, environmental health, or civil rights. We stand ready to participate in continued conversations and have just a few, once this moratorium goes into effect, and I'm saying once it does, just a few key commitments to focus on. If it, during this study, is determined that a data center will come to Harnett County, at least 40 to 50% of the jobs should be filled by residents of Harnett County. There should be an annual disclosure of water and energy use, renewable energy ratchets, and a cumulative environmental study every 5 years to see if there are damages being done here in Harnett County, which we suspect that there will be. Regular equity impact assessments, protection for renters, small businesses, indigenous and Black communities, and accountability. So with those key principles, our health and our environment are sacred. Communities most effective must lead. Jobs cannot justify harm. Accountability must be enforceable. We reject false solutions and fossil fuel dependency. Infrastructure must be community-led. Interconnected harms require interconnected solutions. Solidarity builds power. We walk our talk. And we can do, as we fight for this, we can all do it bigger together. So Thank you for your time and your consideration.
My name is Matthew Clark. I'm a newer resident to Harnett County within the year, and I wanted to first thank the honorable members of the board and the community managers for looking through this and already putting this up and not putting roadblocks in our way for this. It seems you all truly do care about Harnett County. It seems that everyone here, the honorable Mr. Trout, has said that we're very close. We are balancing that budget probably on a pin's head. And I have to say thank you for all of your hard work, for every one of you. This is one of the best counties in the country I've ever been in. I want to say that we would like to keep it that way. If we want to bring these data centers in here, we're going to lose that very delicate balance we have. All of the data that we look at for property is rearward facing. Those counties like Loudoun are already losing property value because people don't want to be up there. And they're leaving for Fairfax County. They're leaving for Hampton County. They're leaving for Norfolk. So if we do that and we put a data center here, what brings people from Raleigh, from Wake, from Forest, from the other counties here will go away. And people like myself and others who have the means and ability will say, thank you and thanks for all the fish, and we will leave. To quote a very good movie of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I know that you all care. Truly, I can see that. And everyone here cares intensely. You can see that. And by God, we are all drawn here to protect what is by given to us by our Creator. That is what we all seem to be saying. I respect this board, and I want to say, please push this moratorium. And if it is in the interest of the county, please put it as a outright ban, as it is the county's right and ability to do so. We do not need these here. Let them go to other counties that have less scruples than ours. And please allow us to maintain a healthy environment that will continue to grow. If we invest, as our Honorable Ms. McCoy has already said, in our children, so that way they're not winding up in nefarious activities. Let's use that verbiage nicely. We will see dividends paid out in triplicate. We will see for what's the old saying? I think Herodotus is the one saying, every ounce of sweat every pound of sweat or ounce of sweat on the prevention saves a pound of blood on the back end. So if we do that for this ounce of sweat on the prevention, we will prevent ourselves from bleeding profusely in the back end. Data centers and other things, we've already fought coal ash, we fought an asphalt, we fought many other things in this county. We will continue to do that, and we thank you for your support in this. All right, thank you for your time.
Good morning again. Good morning, Commissioners. As you know, my name is Kamika Dempsey, and I am a resident of Harnett County. And I'm here this morning to ask this board to do something both simple but also historic. And I do want to say that I do have slides that I will send to you so that they can be part of this public hearing, but I'm just going to go with the script for now. I want to thank each of you for your service to this county. I know this is not an easy job. And I, again, want to reiterate my thanks to Commissioner Nickel for hearing my request for a moratorium or a ban on data centers in Harnett County at the March 31st meeting. The decisions made in rooms like this one have real consequences for real families. And that is exactly why I'm here. Before I get into the evidence, and there is a lot of it, I want to take you somewhere back with me, back to my first real job. Because of where I worked, I had a front row seat, and I know about what is about to happen to this county if we do not stop it today. In case you couldn't tell, my first job was in a data center. Here is why I'm here. In plain language. Most rural counties in North Carolina are told they cannot afford to say no to economic development. Harnett County is no different. We hear it from Jim Bergen all the time. But there is a difference between economic development and economic extraction. And today I'm going to show you the difference. With data from sources this board can verify, cite, and stand behind. The companies that want to build data centers in Harnett County are not coming here because they love us. They are coming here because our land is cheap, our water is accessible, our power grid has capacity, and so far, our local government hasn't said no. So here is what I'm asking. Just say no. Support the moratorium. Support the moratorium. Move toward a permanent ban. Not a pause, not a study, a ban. Here is what I will show you to support that ask. What data centers actually are and what they actually consume. What they have done to communities in North Carolina and across this country that believed the promises. Why the jobs and tax revenue numbers are not what they appear to be, and what this county actually needs, and what we lose permanently if we in Harnett County get this wrong. So let's start at the beginning. What is a data center? County Manager Trout gave us an example this morning, but I just want to be clear what we're talking about when someone says a data center, because the word covers a wide variety and range of facilities, and the people pitching these projects do not always lead with the most alarming details at all. According to Penn State Extension and the Northeast Regional Center for Rural Development, which hosted a webinar on exactly this topic in February of 2026, there are 5 main types of data centers being proposed across rural America right now. Hyperscale data centers are the giants. They're the ones that are built by Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta. We're talking about the buildings that can exceed 100,000 square feet under roof, sit on anywhere from 100 to 3,200 acres of land, and draw more than 100 megawatts of power, with some proposed facilities going to 4.5 gigawatts. Their water consumption, depending upon the cooling system, ranges from 10,000 gallons to 5 million gallons per day. That is the equivalent of a town of 10,000 to 50,000 people every single day. Cloud data centers are similar in purpose, large facilities, typically 50,000 to 200,000 square feet, on 10 to 50 acres, drawing under 100 megawatts and consuming 1,000 or more gallons of water daily. Enterprise data centers are smaller, and these are the tricky ones you got to watch out for, because these are built by corporations for their own internal data storage. Edge or micro data centers are compact facilities designed to process data close to where it's being used. If you read the book Flash Boys, you know about that. Smaller footprint individually, but proliferating rapidly across rural areas. And then there is cryptocurrency mining, hyper-modular, containerized operations that can go almost anywhere. They mine digital currency and nothing else. Their power draw, however, is enormous and largely unpredictable. ERCOT, Texas's power grid, has documented the impact crypto mining has had on grid stability and consumer electricity rates. So now I want to tell you back again about my first job. So when I was 18 years old, I was on my way to college. I had been accepted into a prestigious internship program, and I was proud of that, genuinely proud. I had wanted to be an environmental scientist, but the outdoors was my world, but my allergies wouldn't let me be great when it came to extended outdoor field study, but I digress. My job in the data center had 3 responsibilities. First, I retrieved magnetic tapes from the tape library and put them back in their designated slots every single day. Racks and racks of data stored on magnetic tape. That was state of the art. Second, I used basic code to open and close banks, automated financial systems running their overnight batch processes. And third, I cleared paper jams, because bank statements were printed automatically in massive runs overnight, and those printers jammed constantly. I want you to hold that image. A room full of servers. A room actually larger than this, full of servers. Racks of magnetic tape in rows, much like a card catalog in a library. Automated printers in a room larger than this, running at night. And a young woman making sure the paper did not jam. That was the cutting edge of data technology in its time. The pride of a major financial institution. Now that computer room fits in your pocket. The device you're carrying right now has more processing power than that entire facility did. The building full of servers became obsolete. The company moved on. There was no ceremony. In fact, the building where I worked is now a ghost town, a literal paved parking lot. I'm going to come back to this before this is over, because it is the most important thing I have to say about what will happen to Harnett County if we say yes to these companies and data centers. So let's get into the environmental impacts. Let me show you what is already happening in North Carolina before a single new data center has the opportunity to break ground here in Harnett County. According to reporting by the UNC Media Hub in November of 2025, Duke Energy's own projections show 80 terawatt hours of new electricity demand over the next 15 years in North Carolina. And 85% of that new demand is expected to come from data centers. 85%. That is not just a utility company problem. That goes to your bill, that goes to my bill. Data centers, according to Penn State Extension researchers, consume about 40% of their power draw just running the servers, and about another 40% running it to cool the systems. 80% of everything a data center draws goes to IT equipment and cooling. The Harnett County grid is not built for this. North Carolina's grid is not built for this. Duke's grid barely is, which is likely why they want to raise our rates yet again to fix their equipment. On water, Penn State Extension's analysis of Virginia data centers, which are the most extensively documented in the country right now, by the way, found individual facilities using between 59 million and 200 million gallons of water withdrawn annually, with at least one Ohio facility clocking 405 million gallons. For the largest hyperscale facilities using evaporative cooling, up to 5 million gallons per day is the documented figure. As Penn State researchers put it, to the daily water use of a town of 10 to 50,000 people, it's just too much. North Carolina's own water infrastructure is already strained. According to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, the vast majority of financially distressed water and wastewater systems in this state are in rural counties. Now, Harnett County's water systems, Andrew, Coates, Dunn, Harnett County, Lillington, are currently not financially distressed. That is something we must protect, not gamble with. So now let's talk about Harnett County specifically. The Harnett County Economic Development Commission is already marketing industrial sites in this county for large-scale development. Those sites are publicly listed on the website. That land, Harnett County-owned land, is what data center developers are looking at right now, right this very minute. That is not hypothetical. Bird Industrial Site and Edgerton Industrial Park are sites featured on harnett.gov. This is farmland, folks. This is soil over aquifers that supply wells. And the companies evaluating it are not evaluating it because they care about Harnett County. They are evaluating it because it checks their boxes: available land, grid access, water access, and a local government that has not yet said no. I want to tell you what happens in other communities that believe these promises. In Memphis, Tennessee, Elon Musk's AI company, xAI, built the Colossus supercomputer facility. The University of Alabama at Birmingham's Human Rights Program documented what followed in October of 2025. The company operated diesel generators, dozens of them, without fully completing the environmental permitting process. Residents reported air quality impacts. Regulators opened investigations. The company had moved faster than the permits required. That's the Silicon Valley way. Build fast and break things. They don't care if they break people. Promises were made and broken without a care or concern for the people of Memphis. In Texas, crypto mining operations have caused documented grid instability and driven up electricity costs for residents who had no say in the matter. And in Louisiana, Data center development has strained water resources in parishes already struggling with aging infrastructure. These are not isolated cases. According to North Carolina Health News reporting in March 2026, so just 2 months ago, communities across North Carolina have already begun pushing back. Stokes County mounted a successful legal challenge, and 19 data center proposals have been withdrawn statewide because communities organized, showed up, and said no. So here's the pattern. It's always the same. Before the deal is signed, jobs, tax revenue, progress, partnerships, a company that says it cares about the community, lots of promises made, lots of money promises, lots of upside sold. But that bill of sale is an absolutely empty one. During construction, noise, traffic disruption, and like we can handle a single bit of more traffic disruption around in these parts? No way. Temporary workers, by the way, many from out of state, who will not live here. They will not shop here. They will not send their children to school here. After the facility opens, a skeleton crew of highly specialized workers, elevated water consumption, elevated energy demand, and a local government that has already signed away its leverage. By the time this community understands what it has agreed to, the people who made the deal are long gone. But the families of Harney County are still here. Our water is still here. Our air is still here. All worse for the wear. So we have to resist these false promises. They're going to show you job numbers. I need you to look carefully at those numbers because they are a magic trick. Penn State Extension researchers working with data on data center workforce projections found the following. During peak construction of a 100 megawatt facility, you might have 200 to 250 workers on site at any given moment. Over the full construction phase, you could see thousands of worker stints. Those are real jobs, but they are also temporary. According to Penn State Extension's Jim Ladley, these workers are, in his words, like a McDonald's construction crew. They build it, they move to the next site. Many are specialized tradespeople who follow data center projects from county to county, state to state. These won't be jobs for our Harnett County citizens. And when construction ends, the permanent operations jobs at a 100 megawatt facility are 15 to 35 locally based positions. That is the documented estimate. And as Penn State researchers noted, as facilities get larger, the job count per 100 megawatts actually goes down because efficiency is already built into their system. So more megawatts, fewer workers proportionally. The Brookings Institution's March 2026 analysis of rural data center impacts reached the same conclusion. Employment gains are variable and frequently overstated, and negotiations between rural communities and data developers are structurally asymmetrical. The company has more information, more lawyers, and more practice at this than any rural county government. They can just throw more money and more people at the problem than we can. And there's one more thing on jobs. According to the NC Rural Center, only 41% of rural North Carolina adults between 25 and 44 years old hold a post-secondary degree or credential. The high-skill, high-paying permanent jobs that these data facilities create, network engineers, systems architects, security specialists, they require credentials that the existing pipeline in rural counties have not yet produced at scale. Those jobs do not go to the people who live here. They go to people recruited from Research Triangle, from Charlotte, and from out of state. So now let's talk about the tax revenue, because that is the second number they'll put in front of you. And all our friends here like to know about the tax revenues. But basically, under two North Carolina general statutes, qualifying data centers in North Carolina receive significant exemptions from sales and use taxes on their equipment, electricity, and cooling systems, and those are not small exemptions. They can run tens of millions of dollars over the life of a facility. Again, Penn State's Extension's recommendation to local planners, in their own words, from that same webinar was clear. Try not to give away the farm while you're working to attract these businesses. They said they were not sure it made sense to offer local tax incentives on top of state incentives. Why? Because the net fiscal impact on a community over 10, 20, or 30 years is what matters and is not always favorable. California Forward has documented what this looks like at the county level across North Carolina, and I want to share with you the analysis of Harnett County shows that it is a deeply dependent community where government transfer payments from Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, disability, and veterans benefits make up a significant share of total household income. This county just doesn't have the margin for error. A bad economic bet here is not an inconvenience. It compounds our already existing vulnerability. And then there are the environmental offsets, the mitigation commitments, the promises that the company will make things right. What is offered in environmental mitigation for a facility of this scale rarely approaches what is needed to offset the harm that they cause. And it doesn't arrive day one. It arrives, if it ever arrives, after the legal agreements are signed and the regulatory window to demand more has closed. By the time these offsets show up, if they show up at all, the people in this room today will have moved on. But those who stay or choose to stay, or those who cannot afford to move on and are forced to stay, will be left holding the bag. The commissioners who sign in any data center deal will not be commissioners anymore. But the families of Harnett County, we will still be here. Our water will still be here and our air will still be here. So look, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, data analyzed by the NC Rural Center, the median annual income for Black and African American residents of Harnett County is $52,000. For white residents, it is $74,000, and for Native American residents, it's $40,000. The unemployment rate for Black residents is 6.4%, nearly double the rate for white residents at 3.8%. Nearly 1 in 5 Black residents of this county, 19.4%, lives below the federal poverty line. And for Native American residents, that figure is 22.3%. And from our own county's capital improvement program, 17.4% of Harnett County's population lives in poverty. 14.3% of residents are senior citizens, many with mobility challenges and limited transportation options. The county has 11,700 new homes in development, rapid growth that strains infrastructure. I've talked about that before. And no reliable public transportation to connect our rural community. So this is the baseline. This is what we're being asked to gamble with. A county where racial income and poverty gaps are significant and documented, where infrastructure is already extremely strained, and where 17 cents of every dollar of income in many households comes from a government transfer payment. This is not a county that can afford to absorb a bad economic bet. So now I'll say something that the companies pitching data centers to this county won't say. Artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency have not figured out their business model. That's not my opinion. That's backed by research from Pew Research Center showing that 67% of the 1,500 data center facilities currently planned in the U.S. are targeting rural areas compared to just 13% of existing facilities. 39% of those proposed facilities are headed to counties with 0 existing data centers. Rural counties, in other words, are being used as a landing zone for speculative development. The Brookings Institution's January 2026 analysis of the data center industry noted permitting hurdles, growing community opposition, and what is called the asymmetrical negotiations between these data center companies and rural local governments. These companies have more information, more experience, but their asymmetry is not a coincidence. That's their strategy. So here's the thing that I know firsthand. When I worked in that data center, when I put those magnetic tapes back in the library, clearing paper jams, writing the code to open and close those banks, one computer filled an entire room. Now you have one in your pocket. The room full of servers became obsolete. The building became unnecessary. The company moved on without looking back, as did so many others. Our farmland is not up for grabs, and it can't be. And so I want to tell you something personal. I'm still the little girl who loves to be in the outdoors. I'm still the little girl who wanted to be an environmental scientist in spite of my allergies. I still know what a North Carolina morning smells like, that fresh, clean air before everyone wakes up. And I still know what a North Carolina night feels like, cool and quiet and full of amazing living sounds and things and awfully big bugs. My late grandmother's name was Rosa, and some of the most important moments of my life happened in fields. Running barefoot through rows of strawberries, disappearing into corn rows taller than I was, popping a just picked cherry tomato in my mouth and thinking about nothing in the world could ever taste so good. And I genuinely hate the idea that some child in Harnett County might not have that. That they might grow up in a county where the land that could have grown their strawberries is under a concrete pad, where the air that could have been that clean morning smell is carrying particulate matter from diesel generators, and where the water that could have filled their well is cooling a server rack. That child deserves better, and so do the people and every family in this county. And I want to close by saying, please say yes to all the people of Harnett County. Invest in our education. Invest in expanding healthcare access. Say yes to making this a safe and thriving and affordable place to live. And say yes to small businesses. We can say yes to all of it, but to really do it, we have to protect this county from the people who want to consume it. I want to close with a quote from a short film I recently saw at the River Run Film Festival called Power to the People, Y'all. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And that's by Dr. Larry Little.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Clark. As a resident of Harnett County, I am respectfully requesting a moratorium on data centers. I think the residents of this county want to know the answers to two questions. What are the potential risks of data centers, and do the risks outweigh the benefits? Currently, the full scope of the risks will take years to fully process, which is a good reason to approve a moratorium by itself. However, we already know some of the consequences based on reports from other counties where data centers have been installed, and the consequences pose serious risks to economic, environmental, and personal safety. Residents all over the country are reporting extreme increases in utility costs, in some cases increases of 267%. People in our community are already struggling to pay their bills and feed their families and cannot absorb higher costs of living. Data centers also bring economic risks relating to decreased tourism, resident retention, and loss in real estate value. There are also reports of power grid instability, noise pollution, and health risks that accompany data center development. In response, other local and state governments, including Maine, Mississippi, and even Florida, are beginning to pass regulations, moratoriums, and even bans on data centers. In fact, many of this year's projects have been stalled or canceled due to growing concern over their impacts. North Carolina state government is currently considering tax policy changes and regulations on data center development, making it economically and legally risky to approve projects before those regulations are passed. The second question that must be considered is, do the benefits of data centers outweigh the risks? And I argue that the answer is no. There are no real long-term job gains, and in fact, AI poses a direct threat to many of our residents' jobs. AI has already cost our state employees millions. For example, the North Carolina state retirement system has lost more than $33 million in crypto investments since September. As a whole, the AI and crypto mining industries are already showing signs of being unsustainable in the long term. As was mentioned earlier, the industry is already on the brink of obsolescence due to emerging quantum technologies. Companies are canceling their AI contracts at exponential paces due to underperformance. Even an NVIDIA executive has stated that the cost of computing is higher than the cost of employees, luckily. Many executives have resigned over ethical concerns. Even industry leadership admits that there are no benefits to AI, only risks. Ultimately, the cost of AI is too high. Please pass a moratorium on data centers. Thank you.
So we're getting really tight on time. If you could make yours as quick as you possibly can.
Yes, sir, I will try. Good morning, my name is Charles Seabold. I live at 201 Old Church Road in Booze Creek. I'm here to support the moratorium. Water's not unlimited. Harnett County is currently in extreme and down near done an exceptional drought. On April 30th, the map came out, which is pretty early for our state. We experienced drought, but never this early. Plus, Jordan Lake allocations are over. There's maybe 8 million gallons at play amongst everyone that has a straw in the pond. Cary, Durham, Owasso, us, Sanford, Fayetteville. On top of that, Sanford's proposing, or Tri-River is initiating an IBT, or interbasin transfer, of over 6 million gallons a day to Fuquay-Varina. Water we'll never see again. And Sanford's pulling out of the Western Intake Partnership, so that water's coming out of the main stem. There's no two pools of water anymore. House Bill 1136 may pause any interbasin transfer out of the Cape Fear for 5 years, but that has to pass before the Sanford IBT goes into effect, or else we're off that water. Given the demands of these systems, I also would hope that they would follow our existing water shortage response plan, specifically the 20, 40, and 50% reductions that come into play when we go to stage 2, 3, or 4 for severe water shortage. That's my main concern, is water for the future and for our citizens. There's also, I've heard there's at least one system that's going to give priority water to the data center over their citizens. And I hope that our Unified Development Ordinance will prevent that from ever happening. Thank you.
All right, Eric Stevenson, 100 Valley Stream Road, Spring Lake. I'm here today to speak on support of the moratorium on data centers, data processing facilities, cryptocurrency mining, and related uses. I want to be clear, I'm not against technology. I am not against economic development. I am not against jobs, but I am against Harnett County opening the door to industrial scale data centers before the people, we the people, have real answers about water, electricity, sewer, noise, environmental impact, land ownership, conflicts of interest, and who pays the long-term costs. Data centers may sound clean because they're connected to computers, artificial intelligence, and cloud storage, but the facts tell a different story. According to a U.S. Department of Energy, data center electric load growth has tripled over the past decade and could double or triple by 2028. Data centers use about 4.4% of all the electricity in the United States in 2023, and that could rise as high as 12% by 2028. That is not a small impact. That is not just a building with computers. That is a major industrial use of power. And it's not just electricity. Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory reported that U.S. data centers consumed about 66 billion liters of water in 2023. And hyperscale data centers could consume between 60 billion and 124 billion liters by 2028. So my question is simple. How much water would a data center in Harnett County use every day? I think it was mentioned earlier. Can our sewer system handle it? Would wastewater need special treatment? Would our power grid need new substations, transmission lines, or generation capacity? And who pays for those upgrades? Because it should not be the citizens of Harnett County. North Carolina lawmakers are already discussing legislation to make large data centers pay their own way. That tells me this concern is real. If the state is already talking about protecting ratepayers from data center costs, then Harnett County should be even more careful before allowing one here. I also want to talk about the jobs. We keep hearing about it in economic development, but what does that really mean? A Virginia legislative report found that a typical 250,000 square foot data center may have only 50 full-time workers. It was already discussed. Those big data centers aren't even employing a lot of people. And that brings me to transparency. Who wants a data center in Harnett County? There's no way we're having this conversation unless someone somewhere is already considering Harnett County. Okay. You know, 'cause we're not considering building a new Arby's. You know, we're talking about data centers, right? So the public deserves to know who is the company, Who is the developer? Where do they want to put it? What parcels are being discussed? Who owns that land? And are there any relationships, business interests, family connections, political connections, or conflicts of interest involving landowners, developers, elected officials, or anyone connected to this process? I'm not accusing anyone of wrongdoing. I am asking for transparency before trust becomes a problem. Not accusing anyone, not at all. The Board of Commissioners represents the people of Harnett County. You were not elected to represent outside corporations. You were not elected to represent developers. You were not elected to represent political pressure from Raleigh or anywhere. You were elected to represent us, the citizens, the taxpayers, the homeowners, the parents, the farmers, the veterans, business owners, and families who live here. And the message from the people speaking out is clear. We do not want data centers in Harnett County. We support the moratorium, but we also support saying no to data centers that threatens our water, power grid, environment, neighborhoods, and taxpayers. As I close, elected officials should not vote based on what they personally want. They should not vote based on what another politician may want. They should not vote based on what a developer wants. They should vote based on what the people of Harnett County want. And we the people have spoken. No to rushing this process. No to hidden deals. No to unknown land arrangements. No to putting private industrial demand ahead of public resources. No to sacrificing our water, our power capacity, our quality of life without full transparency. So today, I'm asking this board to listen to we the people, protect the people, and vote in the interest of the people. Vote yes on the moratorium and make it clear that Harnett County is not for sale to any project that puts corporate demand above citizen protection. Vote no. Matter of fact, go ahead and vote no today.
I don't know how to follow that up.
Well, I guess they're not listening.
Seth Richardson, 140 Robert Branch Circle. New to Harnett County, came here for the beauty of the county. Just seemed to be a good place to raise kids. I don't have a lot to say. I'm actually probably the least worthy to be up here. I'm very ignorant politically. However, I've heard a lot this morning. I've heard a lot about children, young people, incarcerations, and laptops, technology. That's my field. Having a friend who gave me a personal computer 30 years ago brought my family out of poverty, and I've built a 20-year career in cybersecurity. So what I'm seeing, though, with AI, I've got skin in the game on both sides as a resident and what I do as a career. And probably if anybody knew I was here today, it could cost me my job, because these global corporations are pushing big time, and AI is like a religion. So what I'm saying when it comes to, kids and poverty, to me it all hinges on hope, a lot of it. And when you look at kids in the community, whether it be being incarcerated or taking their own lives, whatever it is, there's a lack of hope. And AI does not help children to get out of poverty. Having a laptop might get you a general education, but 20 years ago, having a laptop could get you a career, and it could get you from one place to another where you could raise a family. Now, somebody's already articulated, these AI data centers, they're self-healing. It's built into the system. You don't need a technician. You don't need someone to do that. What jobs you will have is going to be a rack and stack person who's going to make very little money in doing that, and it's not going to be much anyway. It's not going to be enduring. So I don't think that it's a good idea just on that front. I think we should really be careful. I can't articulate what everyone has already said about the environment and everything else. But for young people living in this county, I think the past 6 years have taught us all, like, we can't trust anybody. There's no hope in the political system. I mean, the world is a hot mess. At least we may not be able to fight a Goliath, of these corporations on one front, but we can stand as a David in our little area and say no.
Elizabeth Longman, and I'm here to vehemently oppose that data center, but I'm also here to let the people know how we can say no. We can put this as a referendum issue on the ballot if our commissioners will not ban this data center issue and just do a cosmetic moratorium until we're not looking again. We can ban it ourselves, put it on the ballot. If they won't take a stand for us, let's take a stand for ourselves. Also, we have County Commissioner District 2. There's still time to get an independent person on there. They seem to believe that they have guaranteed second signal or extra signature to just co-sign to everything they're doing. We can go and run somebody as an independent against County Commissioner District 2 seat and put in an environmentalist who will always speak up and hold a vote on this county commission board. Other counties that are rural, Vance County, Warren County, Franklin County, and so many others have kicked out these same data people. That's how all of a sudden Harnett County became attractive. They figured we have commissioners who will not care, will not hear us. We have the infrastructure already put together from 47 different organizations ready to tie this county up legally if they continue to threaten to destroy our environment with a data center. We will go all the way up to the state legislature and protect the very little we have left in this environment. Where do our deers go? Where do our butterflies go? Where do our wild turkeys go with this monster of a data center coming? We've all wondered what is the one issue that will unite Harnett, regardless of socioeconomic, regardless of race, regardless of age. The one issue that unites the people of Harnett County is our environment. And we will stand together on that and fight together on that to protect and preserve it. You have the power of the people in your vote. You do not have the power of Matt Nichols or Jaggers or Miss McCoy or Matthews. That vote is not yours. It's the people's. And the people have directed you to get this thing out of here permanently.
Yeah, Jerry Rivas, I just have one comment and one question. The comment being, I thank you for considering this moratorium, and I hope not only that it passes, but I hope you enact some permanent ordinance to keep these data centers out of Harnett County. And my question is, somebody earlier said there were 11,000 current building permits going on. Is that true? Is that the right number? 11,000? How about a moratorium on subdivisions? You know, because when I came to Harnett County 40 years ago, it was a beautiful rural county. And now there are neighborhoods everywhere in these stupid, ugly little cracker box houses that people are actually ignorant enough to pay $280,000, $290,000 for. Billy Wellens is developing the road to the county landfill. Can you imagine paying $300,000 for a house and sitting on your front porch and watching the garbage scows go up and down the road all day long? What a magnificent view of the beauty of Harnett County. But let's put a stop to some of these buildings and somehow pass an ordinance. They want to build a house, they don't want to add to the infrastructure, then charge them $5,000 or $10,000 per house for the building permit. No, Matt. Don't tell me what you can't do, because it's all about what the state won't let you do. How about telling the state to go to hell? How about telling the state? How about telling Jim Bergen, Joe Pike, Howard Penny, and the rest of those fine-haired SOBs to give you a big old kiss and not on the jaw?
One more person.
Last one.
Last one.
Matt Gore, Lillington. First off, I'm very short. Thank y'all for having this meeting. I think we're obviously all on the same page. I think y'all are too.
You wouldn't know it.
Well, I know. But I was here for 2.5 hours. I figured I'd speak to. Obviously, this isn't a partisan issue. We don't want this. The county does not want this. Harnett County is already losing its identity to cookie cutter land developments. If we start letting in data centers, we're done. Okay? And I think y'all agree with that. Going back to what was mentioned about electric capacity and megawatts and all that, we're talking about 100 megawatt usage. To put that in perspective, Sharon Harris produces less than 1,000. You're talking about over a tenth just for one data center. You better believe rates are going to go up. Our water supply is already an issue. Let me get to this real quick, sorry. They don't produce jobs. So the lie that these data centers are going to produce jobs is just, it's a lie. Again, I think that you having this meeting is a good sign. 1-year moratorium. My complaint is that's not long enough. 5 years at minimum. Permanent ban would be great. But the other thing I want to say is, obviously we're all on the same page here. Jim Bergen, Howard Penny, Joe Pike, I hope you're paying attention. Thank you.
Yeah. Debbie Stevenson, live close to Mamers. I'm old enough to know when it was called data processing and people worked at Data General in Apex. And now it's called data. So I don't know where all we changed the way we talk and pronounce things. But I am certainly glad we are doing this moratorium. I am 100% behind the moratorium. I ditto about everything everybody said here. And I also am old enough to know when our county dump was where the prestigious homes of Keith Hills are. When I was a child, that's where we dumped. That's where a lot of people dumped. So there's probably 1 in 3 people in those homes that have battled cancer. So we best really look at what we're going to do in the future for our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be quick. I know this has gone a long time. Joe Langley, 298 Kirk Adams Road, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. And let me begin by saying that data centers may offer benefits, but the full impacts are still not well understood at the local level. There are too many unanswered questions about power demand, water use, infrastructure cost, and long-term environmental effects. Across the country, including in Oregon, communities are only now beginning to understand the strain that these facilities can place on local resources. In fact, just 4 days ago, on April 30th, a coalition of residents filed a lawsuit in Massachusetts challenging the expansion of a data center, alleging that environmental approvals were improperly granted for diesel generators and cooling systems. That tells us something important. These projects are complex, and even after approval, serious concerns can emerge. Here in Harnett County, the Cape Fear Ripper provides drinking water to roughly 2 million people. So we need to ask this question. When something goes wrong, what is the plan to mitigate or clean up the impact on the water supply? Right now, we don't have clear answers, and that's exactly why a 1-year moratorium makes all the sense in the world. A pause is not opposition, it's responsible leadership. It gives this board time to gather facts, hear from experts, and ensure that any decision made is in the best long-term interest of the community. But once these decisions are made, because once these decisions are made, they are difficult, if not impossible, to undo. So I urge you to approve the moratorium, get the answers, and protect the future of Harnett County. Thank you.
This will close the public hearing portion. You've already spoken with time.
Let me say something before we close this. I think you all misunderstood what this moratorium hearing is all about. Commissioners have met, done our research on this, and we've made a decision to have this moratorium before we say no to this data center. We all have had invested time and energy into researching how it's going to affect the citizens in this county. And let me say this too. When you come up and speak, respect the other person behind you. You should not take up 30 minutes making your point. It's totally unfair. It's unfair to us. We got another meeting. And it's totally unfair to the other citizen that wants to speak behind you. Respect each other. And I want to ask you to respect us. We're no dummies. We are no dummies. We do make decisions that are wrong, but this is one decision that we are going to try to get right. And that's why we asked you for your input. Thank you.
Do it.
Okay. Before we go ahead and put this through for approval, I wanted to address just a couple things that had come up. Mr. Chapman had brought up something in regards to the planning department, any sort of extra costs. I mean, you guys obviously know, especially with conditional zoning, you guys are going to be under a little bit more of a burden. And no, we don't pay them overtime. So moving on also to questions about the legality of these things here. Obviously, we have a lot of passion, a lot of people standing behind us, and we truly do support that and understand that we are up here in order to protect this county and make the best decisions for it. You can see with House Bill 382 that we are actually had our hands tied with a lot of things, and this may actually have been a precursor or a prelude to kind of what we're going on now because of overlays and protections. We could have been able to put some things on the river, but that was taken away from us as well. Thank goodness we have conditional zoning. But this right here is going to give us time so we can nail things down and actually make something a little bit more permanent. You know, obviously the legality of things, especially when you're working with the state who makes the rules and makes the laws, that you have to make sure you're legal with them or else they'll make you pay. Okay, so we are more than willing for economic development and growth. And this is something we are harping on and putting forth so much, but we are not for growth that is going to destroy what we have and what makes Harnett County, amazing. You can go on every website, any picture, and that river is Harnett County. Okay, so we're making decisions for the long term, not just short-term profit, short-term investments. We're taking things into consideration for 20, 30, 50 years down the road for our children and grandchildren as well. So I don't appreciate it when I have a senator who will make me feel like I'm unappreciative for economic development or saying that this is an opportunity. This is not an opportunity. This is setting ourselves up for failure and unprecedented things that we have no idea what we're going up against. But I'll tell you, we don't want this. Okay?
That's right. We don't want
So with that said, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the moratorium.
All right!
Yeah! In Harnett County. Now, understand that this right here is only a temporary moratorium, and this is going to give us time so we can go ahead and nail down things a little bit better, a little more ironclad.
I think it gives us more time to investigate the effects of what is how it's going to affect Harnett County.
Can you pull it up?
Say it right.
Motion. Not the motion, but the resolution. Can you pull it up?
Well, Mr. Chairman, one thing I'd like to point out here, if I may,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
is I see Mr. Locklear sitting over here. Let's have him and Mr. Appel take every comment that everybody here has made and research and find out whatever data they can on the concerns of these folks and report back to us, say 90 days. Will that give you enough time, Mr. Locklear?
Well, I have a motion. I need a second first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it made a motion.
I second it.
Okay, now we can go ahead.
And mine is for
No
1
further
year.
discussion, sir. I repeat the same thing I just brought up.
So with that, so 1 year, is that's still considered a reasonable time to do a temporary, correct? 1 year? Yeah. All right then outstanding. My motion was for a year.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion now?
Well, I would say this, if he gets us an answer in 90 days, we may not need a whole year.
Yes,
That's what I was thinking.
I think we should take the.
If we get the answers that we need out of staff in 90 days, we can revisit this, and if they don't get it done that quick, we extend it another 90 days.
Well, and my comment on that would be the guidelines that we establish, it's better to have them actually approved by this board and known by other entities so they can determine whether they want to try and come here or not. With the restrictions that we would establish, they may look at based on their system that they have, they won't even consider applying in this location.
The reason why I brought up a shorter time is what concerns me is if John Doe comes in here and makes an application and gets in under the wire, and then we have to deal with that in some type of legal suit.
Well, here, that's actually something else I wanted to talk about as another thing. So we understand that other counties, Chatham County had another data center come in, but they had put in a lot of work during their due diligence, a lot of site work, and a lawsuit had been presented against that county, actually. This county's been under lawsuits in the past, okay? And I'm pretty darn sure by the looks of the faces here in the comments that I heard today that might be a willing lawsuit that we would have to get into, okay? Just so y'all are aware of that. But we are opposed to data centers. We're here. We're your voice.
I will say, Vice Chairman, planning has not had an application of any sort related to a data center. So we're not under any negotiations, any conversations, any of that as it relates to any data center. So I think that puts us in a better spot compared to what Chatham County was in when they made their decision.
So even though we have not had an application, we are being told that there is already land under contract. One is already looking here, all the way to the point that Duke Energy has looked at this parcel in order to supply it.
I understand what you're saying there, but the issue that was filed in Chatham County related to the fact that there had been conversations with the governmental entity. We've not had that. So we're in a much better location.
All right, is there any further discussion on the motion that's on the table?
The motion is on the table and it's been seconded.
1 year.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. All right, moving along, Mr. Trout, your report, please. If you're next.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's been a while.
Couple of things. Just a reminder of that tonight at 5 p.m. there is another tax appeal assistance event here in this building. This is also Public Service Recognition Week. We are very grateful and appreciative for our employees, and we have a number of activities planned to celebrate that this week. I need a motion to approve budget amendments as requested by the Finance Officer.
So moved.
Motion is second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Motion carries.
And I need a motion on item E, a motion to adopt a resolution related to requesting DOT to add Shelby Meadow Lane and Adam Point Court Extension in Honeycutt Hills subdivision to the state secondary road system.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
And a motion requesting NCDOT add Prince Place Drive, Royal Ella Court, Blue Monarch Lane, Castle Pond Way, and Noble Heart Place in the Prince Place subdivision to the state's secondary road system.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to new business, the only thing I know that we would like right now is I would make a motion that we extend the appeal process for reappraisal to May 22nd.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Any further new business? Do we have a need for closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to discuss a personnel matter in pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interrupt.
Yes, sir.
Given the time, those items that I had requested can wait 1 week.
Will you withdraw the motion?
I'll withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Then I will recess us at this point in time to meet with the Board of Education.
And the Harnett County Board of Education is out of recess, and we're now called to order. We'll begin with the invocation followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone will please stand. Mr. Don Godfrey, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Yes, sir. I'll join me in prayer that will. Our gracious, kind Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for the privilege of being here this morning to conduct the business of Harnett County. Lord, we thank you for everybody that's represented here this morning, dear Lord. We pray a blessing on each and every family that's here, Father. And we ask that, Lord, we do what is best for the county of Harnett and its stakeholders, dear Lord. Students, faculty, and their parents, Father, and their grandparents also, and the ones that are interested in what we do. Father, we pray that we would do the right things in the decisions that we make. We pray on your blessings on us as we try to do so, Lord, that we would be civil, Father, and that we would carry on work that you would be pleased with. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Mr. Godfrey. And now I'd like to ask Mr. John Hare if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Godfrey, aye.
Katie, aye.
Hare, aye.
Hearing none, nay votes. The motion is approved and the agenda is approved as presented. All right, we're moving along now to our discussion items, and this is our Harnett County Board of Education local funding request. And so, County Commissioners, we're glad to see you and everything. And we'd like to talk with you about, we have a budget packet to present to you this morning. And so at this time, I'll turn everything over to our superintendent, Mr. Brooks Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to allow Mr. Andrew Cox to go through and share with you what we have previously sent over to the county manager, Mr. Trout, and answer any questions that you might have. Mr. Cox, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. First, I want to thank the commissioners for their partnership and support of the public schools. Thank you, Mr. Trout, as well as the county manager. Also want to thank Ms. Honeycutt, Ms. McFadden, Mr. Coates for their communication and partnership along the way, and we've been able to reach out to them and have conversations with them, not just at budget time, throughout the whole year. I really appreciate that partnership that I have with them and their openness to have conversations with me. So thank you for that, and thank you again, Commissioners, for your support. This is the Harnett County Board of Education's budget request to the County Commissioners. This is a 2026-27 request. And I'll walk through it. You have it there in your packet. If you want to do it there, we'll have it up on the screen to go through as well. So starting out our request, the continuation request this year, guys, the Commission provided $39,995,293 as the appropriation, and contingency line item was $5.5 million. That was low wealth money that was lost from the state after the last revaluation. When the tax rate was changed to be revenue neutral, that caused us, or the district, to fall below the average state tax rate, which caused us to lose low wealth money as a result of that. The commissioner stepped in to fill that gap due to that loss, and we appreciate that. So that's the $5.5 million. I will note on that request this year, the Department of Public Instruction has estimated, again, we won't know until there's a comprehensive state budget, they're estimating that we will get about $1 million to $1.5 million of that low wealth money back. So that contingency that the commissioners have put in for the prior years may be able to decrease to fill that same gap that you've done if you continue to do that. But I put in that full amount that you gave us this year, and just note that there may be an increase of low wealth money from the state this year. But again, we won't know till a full comprehensive budget is passed by the General Assembly. So our expansion items we have here, the first item is $1,149,602, which is a flow through the charter schools. We are projecting an additional 308 students going to charter schools next year based on historical trends. That would put our charter school enrollment for students who reside in Harnett County who attend a charter school, whether it's in Harnett County, Lee County, Wake County, Johnston County, Cumberland County, doesn't matter if they reside in Harnett County, we have to provide them the same per pupil funding that the commissioners provide to us. So total anticipated enrollment based on historical trends is 2,508. Harnett County schools just under 20,000, so we have just under 23,000 students attending public schools in Harnett County. If this request is fully funded, we would need $1.149,602 to go to charter schools. The next line item you have there is 2 new positions at the district level. One is for safety and security to handle our safety and security needs throughout the district. And another one is an additional curriculum position in our curriculum instruction area. For those positions, including benefits, that's an estimated cost of $180,000 total. The next line item you have there is to increase our teacher supplements to 15% this past year. The budget that the commissioners passed allowed us to move our supplement to 12% from a flat dollar amount. I know Ms. Thompson can probably speak to this better than I can, but we have not had, our vacancy rate has been much less this year. We've lost a lot more teachers to neighboring districts who had a higher supplement than we had in the past due to the effort increasing it to 12%. And this request will move it up to 15% to help us retain and recruit more teachers here to Harnett County schools. That's for an estimated 1,530 teachers there. The next line item in the request is to increase our school-based administrators to a 15% supplement similar to our teachers. They are currently on a flat dollar amount supplement based on their years of experience, which when we moved our teachers to 12%, most of those school-based administrator supplements now were less than what our teachers were getting. So this will bring them in line with the 15% teacher supplement that we're requesting in the budget. That is a cost of $545,779. The next line item there in the request is $415,977. That will provide an estimated increase in salary of 3% that we're anticipating. We're estimating if there is a state comprehensive budget to classified staff, they would put in the budget. And then also increasing the retirement rate and hospitalization rate that they put in their budget to cover these locally paid employees. And we estimate that to be about 105 locally paid employees that this would cover for their hospitalization increases, retirement increases, and then a 3% salary increase there. The next line item is to cover master's pay for those teachers who have a master's degree that the state no longer covers additional supplement for. I believe it was in 2013, the state no longer, I'm going to say recognize. They do recognize a master's degree. A teacher who gets a master's degree or got a master's degree after that date could add one to their license, but there was no longer pay associated with them getting that master's degree. Several of our neighboring districts have recently used local funds to cover master's pay for those teachers who no longer qualify for additional master's pay from the state. And this will allow us to cover that for those teachers who have a master's degree and don't qualify from the state. Again, another method to retain and recruit teachers from teachers to Harnett County schools. The next item is for our classified staff. We have 922 classified staff currently. This will provide a one-time annual supplement to those staff at $1,000. This would cover the associated FICA and retirement for that. $1,000 supplement. That's the cost of $1,219,990. And then the last item you see there for expansion for our operations is for our directors. Provides a 7.5% supplement to the directors. We have 19 currently. Cost of $250,791. That also includes the associated benefits, FICA, and retirement for that supplement. So a total expansion request over our current funding, $8,283,086. For that. The next items I want to cover are related to capital outlay. Our category 1, which is our facilities. I'll cover the tier 1 projects, which are short-term projects, near-term projects. Just the overall dollar amount, and I'll cover that in just a minute. It's $135,401,352. That is listed on school facility needs, as I said, and I'll go over those more in detail in just a minute. Facility maintenance is part of capital outlay. Like I said, it's what we call category 1 on this request, are typically things that we cover out of the additional capital outlay funding. I believe the county calls it capital maintenance. And these are things that we cover out of that pot. I won't go over the list there, but you can see it broken out. But a total need of $1,277,000 for those category 1 facility needs for capital outlay. The next category cover is our category 2, which is equipment needed. Again, these are things covered out of that capital maintenance pot that is typically provided to the district. You see different types of equipment there listed out, and I'll go through each one of them, but that's a cost of $133,279. And the last category is vehicles, again covered out of that capital maintenance budget. You see those vehicles listed there, a couple additional new activity buses for the district and students there, $789,924. Between the tier 1, category 1, equipment and vehicle maintenance, that would be a capital request of $137,601,555. Total current expansion, excluding that contingency of $5.5 million, would be $48,278,379, which includes the current level of funding that you provide to us in that $8,283,086. And that excludes that contingency line item for that lost low wealth money there. So that's the local appropriation funding request, and now I'll cover the school facility needs. It's not necessarily a request, but letting you guys know, the commissioners know what the facility needs for the district are in the short and long term. Currently approved projects that are ongoing right now are Flatwoods Middle School. Budget for that Flatwoods Middle School is $85,591,525. We just started some preliminary work on New Highland High School, estimated cost of $140 million for that project. And we're ongoing work for a school nutrition freezer cooler, which will eliminate us having to rent storage off-site in other districts and have that facility here within the district to make transporting food back and forth to our schools much more efficient there at a cost of $4.2 million. Our tier 1 projects are projects that we deem within 1 to 2 years of need, which is a new transportation facility. You see our current transportation facility is rather outdated and kind of enclosed in there. $15,401,352 for that new transportation facility there. Have conversations ongoing and possible partnership with Central Carolina on a CTE high school. Estimated cost there about $65 million. New auxiliary gym for Triton High School, estimated cost of $10 million. and then the replacement of the Boys Creek Elementary School at $45 million for short-term Tier 1 projects, 1 to 2 years. That's that $175,401,352 that I mentioned in the previous slides on the short-term projects. Our mid-term to longer-term projects are our Tier 2 projects, which would be Lafayette year-round school gym renovations, estimated at $1 million cost, and then some additional renovations to Harnett Central High School, Triton High School, and Western Harnett High School at an amount to be determined. Our 5 to 6 year, which we label as our Tier 3 projects for school facility needs, is another new elementary school in the northern area, northwest Harnett area at $45 million. A northwest Harnett area middle school, we already have the land procured for that at a cost of $85 million. A southwest Harnett 87 corridor elementary school at $45 million. Additional renovations at Harnett Primary School. We haven't done the cost on that to be determined there. And then a Flatwoods area elementary school. Right now we have the Flatwoods Middle School going up, but there will be a need for a Flatwoods area elementary school in the mid to longer term there at $45 million, similar to the other costs of our elementary schools. And then our longer term project, 7 to 8 years out, would be potential Western Harnett area middle school, and then other renovations to our other schools as deemed necessary. So that covers our local operations funding request, as well as our short and long-term facility needs that we have ongoing in the district. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Chair Powell for any additional comments he may have related to the request. Again, appreciate the Commissioner's partnership and the support of the school system.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. And first of all, does anyone, either commissioners or school board members, have any questions or comments for Mr. Cox? Mr. Cox, first of all, I'd like to thank you and your staff and Superintendent Matthews and your staff for the amount of work you've put into this budget. I would also like to thank our county commissioners and the past commissioners and our county manager Trout and his staff. You've been good to the Harnett County Board of Education. We greatly appreciate your hard work and working with us on these things. Just a couple things I'd like to mention, Mr. Cox, on the school facilities needs list. First of all, again, commissioners, we greatly appreciate your funding of the Flatwoods Middle School and the Highland Middle School. They're needed. They have been needed for several years, and we just greatly appreciate your willingness to work with us and provide the funding for this, help ease some of the overcrowding in these areas. And when we're dropped down to the Tier 2 projects, as far as the renovations at Harnett Central, Western Harnett, and Triton High School, if you think about it, I believe next year Harnett Central, Western Harnett will be 50 years old. Now, for some of us who are around then, it's kind of hard to believe, but they will be 50 years old next year. And this year, I believe, or was it last year actually, Triton is now 40 years old. And I can well remember, in fact, we have somebody that graduated from Triton and is here now in leadership roles. And Triton, when it was built, was a state-of-the-art high school. If I remember correctly, it was told anyway that it was at the time the largest high school in the state of North Carolina under one roof. Now, I'm not sure if that's still the case or not, but at the time, 40 years, it's just hard to believe 40 years old. And of course, having owned property, a house or anything, you've got to have upkeep, you've got to have maintenance. And you think about the number of students and people who are there day in and day out, things are going to break, things are going to need repairing. And so just little things like that that a lot of people may not realize, just some standard upkeep maintenance over something as old as that. So those are some of our needs. One other thing I'd like to especially point out too, on the current expense expansion, and that would deal with the supplements, our educator supplements and principal administrative supplements, and we greatly appreciate that. Here in Harnett County, we want to attract and particularly retain the very best educators, and sandwiched between two much larger counties in particular that can pay a much larger supplement. It's just hard for us to keep good teachers when they can make a lot more, particularly if they live adjacent to the county lines. And it's just difficult to retain or attract. And by your investment in this last year, that was able to increase this, we're competing. We're much more competitive. We can attract a better teacher. We can retain good teachers that otherwise might have left us because they just simply needed to make more money. And so we just greatly appreciate that. We greatly appreciate your consideration, this additional 3% to raise it to 15, which that would help us tremendously in our recruitment and retention. We want the best in Harnett County. We just want the very best. That will help us in that regard. And also another thing I greatly appreciate, and I do think it's a relatively small investment considering, but the reinstatement of the master's pay. Some of the larger counties do that. The state took that away several years ago, as Mr. Cox alluded to previously. And I think it's about that same time as through some legislative sleight of hand, not at the county level, but at the state level, when they also took something called longevity pay. And many people depended on that, particularly if they had started work beginning of the second semester, and that would come in a nice little supplement would come in at county tax time, at Christmas time, those type of things, and that was kind of folded into the session, and we can't do much about that, but teachers took a double hit on that one, and if we could provide that too, I think that's a relatively small investment, and once again helping us to attract and retain very good teachers. So we greatly appreciate all you've done for us. We greatly appreciate your consideration with this standard budget as well. Are there any other comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I do have some comments.
Yes, sir. The chair recognizes Mr. Abate.
To our county commissioners, I'd like to echo what Chairman Powell stated just now. In the last year, we've seen our vacancies reduced dramatically. And I believe this is directly attributable to our increased supplement that we did receive last year. And to go a step further with another 3% this year, it puts us extremely competitive with surrounding counties, if not surpassing surrounding counties. What I would like to draw attention to, about 3 hours ago, the preliminary county budget was released, and as I was listening, I believe Mr. Trout's included a 3% COLA, a 2% pay study increase, and then a 1.5% merit, which someone that works for the county could look at receiving 6.5% total. At the same time, we've got to remember that our teachers in Harnett County and our faculty members and our administrative members are still, where they might be state employees, they are still local employees that are funded through local dollars from our county. And I would like to see something similar passed along to them, which a 3% increase to 15% would do that. A master's pay, the county recognizes master's pay here in Harnett County. So I would advocate for passing that along to our teachers as well. The classified supplement, the director supplement, the administrator supplement, all of these things just go hand in hand with what we're doing right here on the county level. And I would like to see that passed along to our professionals who are leading and ultimately teaching our leaders of tomorrow. And that would be my request from our school board.
Thank you, Mr. Abate. Are there other comments from the school board? Chair recognizes Mr. Godfrey.
I'd just like to thank the Board of Commissioners and the County Manager's Office for their support for Harnett County Schools. For what you did for us last year is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to the work we can do together to make Harnett County Schools better and do what we need to do. I think all my years in Harnett County, I don't think I've ever seen two boards work together in cohesion as good as what these two boards have worked together, because we've really tried to meet the needs of the stakeholders and the students in Harnett County. And again, I echo my thanks and my gratitude for what you folks have done for us in meeting our budget needs and I look forward to what we're going to be able to do this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Anything else from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Matthews, do you have anything?
No, Mr. Chair, I'm fine. Thank you.
Well, if not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye, please. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, and I will now yield the floor to Chairman Jaggers.
I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may take a moment.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Well, 2026, how outstanding it is to be here. And I mean, I've known a lot of y'all in some capacity over the years. Nearly 10 years ago, I started out on the planning committee for the school board here. And as Mr. Godfrey said, the boards were at war with each other at that time. And it was a major breakdown, and it was very hard to get a lot of things done, from seeing it from the school board side at that time. And one of the greatest things, I believe, is that we finally bridged that gap between the two boards, and we're finally working cohesively together. And it's not just for us, it's for everybody. So I really do appreciate it. I have one question, though, that I would like to ask in regards to, I had pulled up ORDA's latest, numbers that they had pulled for the capacities at school. So my concerns are with, high schools. I know that we are bringing in, Highland High School is going to be coming online here in a couple of years. But you had mentioned about the age of the schools, and I know about 10 years ago, we were concerned that in 20 years we would have to be, and we're 10 years into that now. So in 10 years from now, we're definitely going to need to be looking at kind of moving, shuffling around these schools for the renovation periods, and we got to take that into consideration. I'm sure you guys are already working on, plans in order to do that. But with the western side, Overhills is already over 500 students at capacity now. And kind of, I don't know if you guys are possibly looking at doing any sort of district changes. But if you guys got any information on that, it might help out a little bit, just because down on the western side, we are getting slammed and crammed, and we're going to need to rotate around a lot of bodies here in the next 10 years when we're doing renovations on those schools. So I just want to make sure we're taking that into consideration and proactively planning for that now.
Yes, sir, we're definitely taking that consideration. I can assure you we're looking into ways to handle that already. But now hopefully when the Highland project is finished, that's going to help significantly with the opioids overcrowding. But yes, we do have a lot of work to do in there, but we are working on that, making preliminary plans to just how we're going to handle that.
Just real quick, Mr. Cox, I think we're definitely going to address the low wealth, what that low wealth number is this year. It was very disappointing to find out it was only a 1 cent rate tax increase would have took care of it last time. So I think we have that ability now to understand what it is. So hopefully that money will not be taken this time. So on that, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Y'all don't want to adjourn? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.